All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call to order the meeting of the Board of Trustees, regular meeting, August 11th, 2026. It's currently 1400, and we will start off first with roll call. Clerk Hull.
Thank you. That's 2 o'clock for non-military people. I am present. President Mayberry is absent. Trustee Nicolette.
Good afternoon.
Trustee Phoenix.
Present.
Trustee Smith.
Here.
Trustee Westlake.
Here.
Vice President Woodley.
Here.
And we have Milo with us today.
Here, thank you for having me.
With one absent. We have a quorum. Thank you so much, Clerk Hull. So next item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to acknowledge our student representative, Milo from Worcester, and I'll ask him if he'll lead us into our Pledge of Allegiance.
Of course, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Just want to acknowledge our 2 new student representatives, Milo and Kaylee. Kaylee, unfortunately, isn't here. She lives up in the North Valleys, and unfortunately, she was one of the families that had to evacuate. So President Mayberry wanted me to express his sincere apologies that he wasn't able to communicate with both of you prior to the meeting starting, but he's looking forward to meeting with both of you after. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, we have 1.04, the land acknowledgement, and I will defer to Trustee Phoenix.
Acknowledge that the Washoe County School District schools and communities are situated on the traditional homelands of the 3 major tribes of the Great Basin Native American peoples, including the Northern Paiute, Washoe, and Shoshone tribes. We honor their ancestors, past and present, and recognize these lands as a continued gathering place for communities. We express our respect and gratitude for the opportunity to live, work, and learn here in Nevada.
Thank you, Trustee Phoenix. Next item on the agenda, we have a ceremonial swearing in of Washoe County School District School Police Officer John Shanti. And we have with us today our esteemed Chief Baker, who will conduct the ceremonial swearing in of Officer Shanti.
Thank you. Vice President, thank you. Members of the board, I appreciate it. Officer Shanti, if you'd come up here, please. So Officer Shanti comes with us with a history from Washoe County Sheriff's Office and a large passion for protecting children. He also did private security at preschools for quite a long time. He's very proud of his son, who just graduated and will be attending UNR in the future, and we are truly blessed to have him with us here today. So go ahead and face me. Raise your right hand. Okay. I state your name.
I, John Shanti,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support,
protect
protect, and defend
the Constitution and government
the Constitution and the government
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and government of the State of Nevada,
the Constitution and government of the State of Nevada,
and the regulation of the Washoe County School District against all enemies,
and the regulation of the Washoe County School District against all enemies,
whether domestic or foreign,
whether domestic or foreign,
and that I will bear true faith,
and that I will bear true faith,
allegiance,
allegiance,
and loyalty to the same,
and loyalty to the same,
any ordinance,
resolution,
or law
or law
of any state notwithstanding,
of any state notwithstanding,
and that I will faithfully perform
and that I will faithfully perform
all duties
all duties
of the office of police officer
of the office of police officer
on which I am about to enter,
of which I am about to enter,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, I just need your wet signature. And then if you wouldn't mind saying something to the board. There you go. That's yours.
Okay, awesome. I would just like to thank you guys for the time today, taking the time out of your busy schedule, having me down here for this swearing in. I'm truly grateful for it. I'd also like to thank the Chief Baker, Deputy Chief, the command staff, as well as all the officers for welcoming me as they have. They've taken me in. I feel like I'm part of the family already, and I truly appreciate that. Just grateful to be here. Looking forward to serving our kids and our parents, and I'm excited to get started. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Chief, I believe we're going to do a photo? Yes, please. Thank you. All right, that was great. Okay, so we're going to move on with the agenda. Next item is consent agenda items, which include 2.02 all the way through 2.10. I don't know, we haven't received any requests from any of the trustees. I just want to confirm if any trustees would like to pull any of these consent agenda items for additional discussion. Seeing none, okay, then I will call for the public comment on any of these.
I have no cards for consent.
No cards? Outstanding, thank you. So then I will be looking for a motion, please.
I'll go ahead and do that. So I move that the Board of Trustees approves consent agenda items 2.02 through 2.10.
I'll second.
From Trustee Phoenix and a second from Clerk Hull. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. We're going to move on to item 3.01. This will be a report on the one-year pilot program with the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County to provide free transit passes to Washoe County School District students and possible action to direct the superintendent to negotiate a long-term agreement with the RTC for a continuation of this program. Our presenter today will be Adam Searcy and Doug Taylor. And I do want to acknowledge a special guest in the audience. I believe I saw Bill Thomas, if he's here. Okay. I used to work for Bill Thomas. Man of much wisdom. My favorite statement he shared with me was, "We're all a cog in the wheel. If any of us fall off, the wheel will continue to turn. None of us is more important than the organization." True words. Thank you. Okay, so with that, we're going to start with Mr. Searcy.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. For the record, my name's Adam Searcy. I'm the Chief Operating Officer. I'll let Mr. Taylor introduce himself in a moment. Speaking of wheels, we're here to talk about the wheels on the bus. I couldn't leave it hanging. This is, sorry. Nope, that's it. That's as far as we're going to go. But we're talking today about this pilot program that we are concluding with the RTC, termed a Youth Ride Free. This was a pilot program that came to the board and the RTC board a little over a year ago now, where the idea that all school district students could ride existing RTC buses and routes for free at any time. And there were, of course, some concerns and some constraints put upon that, but only in a limited degree. Basically, every route, 24/7, 365, let the kids ride for free. And a lot of the conversation around that began with a dual purpose of the school district to help increase access to schools, basically reduce barriers and mitigate absenteeism, but also from the RTC's perspective to help educate and train youth in our community on how to navigate the public transit system in our area, so that when they become adults or otherwise, that they feel familiar and comfortable navigating the system, both kind of logistically and just behaviorally, right? It's just something to get accustomed to. And so anyway, we brought that MOU to the board under consent, and then subsequently held a kind of a media kickoff event that you see this photo here from a bunch of folks from the RTC and the school district a year ago. We kicked it off in June, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the success throughout the year. But again, simplistically, there's actually some similarities to what we're rolling out with Zoom on our own school buses, but this is an app-based platform that the RTC uses for all of their fares and rides that we asked, we educated students on, hey, download the app, use that to validate your student pass. Basically, in partnership with the school district, we verified their enrollment status. Yes, this is a student. They are eligible for to obtain that student pass. Then when they get on and off the bus, there's no fare charged, so they can transact like that. The RTC doesn't track individual IDs. All they see on their end is that this is a student. This is a student that has been, verified by the school district as an enrolled student, and therefore they ride for free. Also a part of that MOU was quarterly meetings with our academics team, communications team, support and engagement team, as well as just kind of operations, transportation, and extensive engagement with our school communities. We're going to talk more on that in a moment. So starting kind of with our outreach and engagement, the RTC doubled our efforts even on their side, but through our networks and platforms, lots of eyes on this. Was a very positively received campaign. Lots of eyes, lots of shares, lots of likes. Really got the word out. Also did a lot on sort of the how-to, the video tutorials, and just some of the basics. It sounds simple. Download the app, create a profile, verify your status as a student, but of course that takes a little bit of hand-holding at times, and we did the work to answer those questions pretty simplistically. And then the last point, we're going to share a little bit more this afternoon, individual engagement efforts. So countless efforts on an individual level with parents, with students, with many site-based staff to just help folks be aware of it, connect with it, and then begin using it. Many folks helped with that, and this is what the data told us. Throughout the school year, we saw a steady growth in riders. Now, we expected, a peak
at the back to school last school year. But as you can see, the use actually grew almost every month steadily throughout the school year. You know, one might suspect that that suggests, hey, I've got a handful of power users that are using it to school and to lots of different trips throughout the day. And while that might be a part of the story, they also were able to track and graph individual ridership. So this, you know, teases out some of the duplicate riders. This is total individual riders throughout the school. You can see, very much to our surprise, that as the awareness, as the positive referrals basically grew, the ridership, the adoption grew as well. And then interestingly further, notably higher than expected ridership on non-school days. So of course, the school district, we're a little bit more interested in, hey, how many of our students are riding and how frequently are they riding to and from our schools and which schools, those types of questions. You know, the RTC, of course, is interested in that, but they're also interested in increasing that mobility, increasing that ridership and that participation in the public transit system. And we saw that significantly here on non-school days as well. So these are some of the grand totals. You know, nearly 5,000 student passes were distributed throughout the school year. Many rides were taken on a daily basis. This slide, though, breaks it down by school zone. So this is relative to where the rides were taken, right? We don't know the individual status of the student, but hey, if they got on a bus route that is primarily associated with a given school zone, that's how this pie chart was organized. And, you know, perhaps unsurprisingly, your Wooster, Hug, Reno Sparks, some of your more urban and maybe more conveniently served by public transit routes were some of our heaviest participation users. But you see significant numbers from the North Valleys, DeMonte Ranch, McQueen in particular, that aren't as heavily served by public transit routes. And you still see significant numbers of students taking advantage of this tremendous partnership and opportunity. So that's kind of what the data shares. I've got a little bit more at the end, but I want to, start with the facts and the data and turn it over to Doug. Doug was really one of our greatest champions from a staff and a connection standpoint with our students. He, I'm sure, will attest, is one of many. So countless principals, counselors, secretaries, and so many other adults in our schools helped make that connection between this program, this opportunity, and our students. And hand it over to Doug to share a little bit more about that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Doug Taylor. I'm the District Attendance Manager, for the record. I'm fortunate to be here because I get to share with you some of our wonderful success stories that came out of this program last year. So we've got some full text for some stories, for some slides up here for you, but I'm just going to kind of share them a little less formally. So last year I was in my office and was contacted by a teacher from Sparks High School, Kim Carl. She's the CLS teacher there. And she said, gosh, we work really hard to get our kids using the buses, using the transit system, and it would really help out a lot if we had a way that we could make it really easy for them to get on the bus. And so, fortunately, RTC had shared with me some physical smart cards that we could give to students in lieu of using a phone, an app-based system to be able to log on. Most of our kids that were riding the bus would use the Token Transit app, would download it, and would get their pass set up. But some kids don't have smartphones, and for some kids, it was just an inconvenience. And so she asked, can we have some of those passes for the students in my class? And so we generated those passes as I said, it was really nice of RTC to set me up with several hundred of those that I was able to pass out over the course of the year, and sent those out. And checked back in with Kim a few weeks later just to kind of say, hey, how did it go? And this is what she wrote back to me with. She talked about how it was an extremely positive experience for her kids. They were able to learn how to navigate the bus system, get where they needed to go, not just back and forth from school, but in general, just learn those skills that are going to be so important to them moving forward in terms of being able to access this awesome resource. And I don't think that would have been possible in the same way without the partnership of RTC, without the support of the Sparks High School administrators, and without the support of this teacher who really made this happen for her students and made a big difference in these kids' lives. Got a couple others to share with you. If you're not familiar, the Family Resource Centers are a part of the intervention department here in Washoe County School District. We have 5 of those centers that serve the greater Nevada, or the greater Washoe County area. And they provide all kinds of support in terms of basic needs for families. We work on in terms of food insecurities, rent insecurities, utility assistance, all kinds of things to help support families that may be struggling with basic needs type challenges. And one of those needs that we've seen in the past frequently has to do with transportation and being able to get around the area. In the past, what we had to do was purchase through the RTC passes for our students and for our families. Well, last year, because of this free pass system, that took a lot of financial burden off of those family resource centers, allowed us to allocate funds to other really important needs that we also have in the area. Additionally, in addition to the free ride pass program for kids, RTC also donated to us 3,000 free 2-ride passes that we could give to our parents and families. And through our department, we pass those out to every elementary school, to every middle school, to every high school, and then to the family resource centers, so that families, parents could ride the bus with their students. Especially at the elementary level, you know, it's a little intimidating that I'm going to go out and put my 3rd grader on a bus that they haven't done that before and they don't know how to do it. So being able to provide those passes so that the parents could ride the bus with the kids, get the kids acclimated to be able to ride the bus, and then for the kids to be able to use that bus to continue to get to school was a huge help for our family resource centers and for so many of our schools and families. So here's our quote from Brenda Costello, one of our family resource center specialists, talking about how amazing this program was in terms of supporting families all across the county. Another of my favorites, 2 of our wonderful principals, Mary and Marcus Culpepper, who are both elementary school principals here in the Washoe County School District and have been tremendous champions for this program in terms of helping their families at their schools get signed up for it. I reached out to many of our principals and just kind of said, hey, I'm looking for some great success stories. And these 2 shared with me some good student success stories, but to be honest with you, the favorite one that they shared with me was their own children. And talking about how for their 3 kids, they needed to find a plan to get them to school. They had participated in School of Choice and needed a way to get them to school easily. And so worked with their kids, rode the bus with them a few times, got them used to riding the bus, and then got their kids on the bus to be able to ride the bus to school every day using the RTC program, getting them to school. And not only getting them to school, but getting them around too, because here's a quote from their middle school aged son who used to ride the bus to get to and from school, but then realized, gosh, we've got 24/7, 365 access to this bus, and I really want to take my little brother out to help him learn how to ride his bicycle. I want to take him to the bike park. And so they did. They got on the bus, they rode over to the bike park, and had a great time doing it. And so here's just the quote from Marshall Culpepper talking about his success at being able to use the bus. So these are just 3 stories I could share with you all afternoon. Many, many, many success stories that we had from families that were able to make amazing use of this program. I want to thank the RTC for their generosity in providing this to all of our families, and I want to thank all of you for your support of this program moving forward, because it was amazingly helpful. This one is my last slide. I talked a little bit already about purchasing passes through the Family Resource Centers in the past and through other agencies as well. Our Children in Transition Department purchased bus passes in the past to be able to hand to families. And again, that's funding that we're now able to route to other places. And that also is really needed. Also mentioned briefly the physical passes. So one challenge that we discovered early on in this program, back like in July, August of last year, was, gosh, there are kids that don't have smartphones for a variety of reasons or didn't want to use the phones in that way for a variety of reasons. And so working with RTC staff, we said, well, let's come up with a solution there. And so they generated these smart cards. They sent me a little scanner and they set me up with a toolbox that got me into their system, so that all that had to happen was a parent, a grandparent, a school team member, a student themselves in many cases had to get a hold of me, get in contact with me or a member of my department, and we were able to generate those passes, put them in school mail, and get them out to them. Many of those that you saw riding at Reno High School took advantage of that. The staff at Reno High School were also great champions with this and requested many times, like, gosh, if we just had a pass for this kid to be able to get on the bus, I know they'd get to school, and lots of good stories from that school as well. And then also mention on here just briefly the 3,000 paper passes that we are so appreciative of. That came because we, again, identified a challenge like in October with the elementary kids and not necessarily wanting to ride the bus unaccompanied. And RTC just stepped up to the plate and said, okay, here's 3,000 passes for your families. And again, we so appreciate their support. So that's the part that I have to share with you today, but it's been my pleasure to be here, and I greatly hope that you will continue to support this program moving forward. Thank you so much. Adam, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Doug. Just a couple more slides. As it says here, about 3 weeks ago, the RTC board received a similar presentation from their staff. A couple points that they emphasized. Number one, this is very clearly not to replace yellow bus transportation. That's something that's actually very important to their public transit program. And that, the current constraints or guardrails for this agreement are that it does not increase the need for total buses. This is basically, their ability to accommodate these student riders within their existing capacity. But within that, a lot of very positive anecdotes from their drivers and their riders as well. Of course, we were concerned about behavior issues from our students and from adults and vice versa. And very, very, very few of those actually materialized. There were a couple of complaints about some standing room only instances during peak, high school release times aligning. And, riders sometimes make adjustments to their schedules to accommodate that, and overall was roundly supported by the RTC board. Their direction was actually to approach the school district on a potential long-term agreement as well. So that's really what brings us here today. We, as you understand, it's very difficult to directly correlate this with changes in our absenteeism rates. But on balance, this has been a very, very positive thing for so many students. We're extremely grateful to the RTC for even approaching us with this opportunity in the first place, and grateful to so many of our team and our students for taking advantage of this opportunity in a responsible way. And just pleased to present the recommendation to you here today that we pursue a long-term agreement with the RTC for a similar arrangement. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, both of you. Before we go to public comment, I'm going to defer to my fellow trustees for any clarifying questions. And then after public comment, we'll get into discussion.
Thank you. I don't really have a question because I was going to ask about the behaviors just to make sure that we're being good partners, because this is such an amazing gift. I mean, it is just, it's one of those gifts that you could never really repay. And I am just so very grateful to RTC, really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. I actually have a question. I live in an area of town that does not have a lot of bus service. It's getting better, but I'm curious if the success of this is helping to inform maybe new bus routes or additional stops in some of the areas of the high school zones that we saw didn't have quite as much ridership. If that's something that the RTC board spoke about or is planning on using that data to inform maybe some additional routes and stops.
Well, at the risk of speaking for the RTC, in short, it didn't come up during this item with the RTC.
Okay.
I think it's fair to say it's quite a process to modify the routes,
Sure.
both in quantity and location, and that it's something that the RTC is regularly engaged on. And that this information, as well as, just general population and infrastructure growth, is certainly your Spanish Springs, your South de Monte Ranch areas that are not well served today are definitely on their radar.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions? No? All right. Seeing none. JJ, do we have any public comment?
I have no cards for this item.
Thank you. No public comment. So we're bringing it back for discussion prior to seeking a motion. If any trustees want to share any comments?
Just more of a comment for me. Thank you, sir, for the data and showing the numbers there, not only to us, but to the public, the need and all those good stuff there. So it's huge. I appreciate all that and that partnership that you've got going with RTC and the communities. And I like the resource center you were talking about, sir. So adding all that, the need, and putting that in there in the presentation, spot on. So I just wanted to say thank you for that detailed brief.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Just want to echo, I was so excited when we announced this last year, and the community uptake in this and the awareness has been really, really impressive. I'd like to recognize RTC for the marketing that you've done with this. It's really attractive, it's really friendly, and it's really raised a lot of people's attention to the way that governmental agencies can work together. And so that's also a question I have, is that are we also making sure that at the high schools and the middle schools for back to school nights that we're also promoting this as well, so that we can continue to build this ridership? Because I agree with my colleagues that this is an incredible gift, and it would be so wonderful to make sure that all the schools know about it as well.
You know, I do know that it not only was refreshed, you know, because there were some questions coming in. Hey, is this ending? Is this still continuing? And so we did do our part to proactively push or re-publicize that. It did get included in a lot of the more routine back to school kind of FAQs, like your free and reduced lunch kind of information pushes. Pending long-term agreement, you know, there may be another celebratory opportunity to just continue to raise awareness. And, you know, if I could maybe even, you know, think of it after I stop speaking, hopefully the core intent of this to train our future customers, you know, might actually stimulate the demand in the areas that are not as well served today, that, you know, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, something to that effect. But you're right. I appreciate you acknowledging they did do a tremendous job marketing this, and we don't want to rest on our laurels.
As the student representative, you know, it's really great to see that the numbers are backing up something that I've personally seen in the schools. Coming from Worcester, it's nice to see that we're at the top of the chart, you know, with the usage of these RTC buses. Even I don't personally use them, but seeing my fellow like JROTC cadets, you know, being able to do more activities after school or being able to attend football games, you know, students are just doing a lot more because of these RTC buses, and it's really great to see that. And I like to echo how great they all are. I'm glad to hear that the behavior is good, and there's no attitude, I don't think, from students to other students. Like, there's no back talk about or there's no bad attitudes towards students that use the RTC buses from other students. Like, there's no students getting made fun of or anything like that. It's really a respected thing, and I really love that this is just a really great thing overall for all students. So just thank you. Really grateful for you guys and for RTC as well.
Sorry, that's great. I didn't even think about that, about the extracurricular activities after school, like going to games. This is that's really good. I think that this is we're very fortunate in this area. We have a lot of partnerships with this district. I'd have to say that this partnership with RTC, I think, is one of the best that we have, and the most important, because they're giving us a lot of great benefits for our students. I used to use a bus pass back in the day when I was a kid to go to school, so I used it elementary all the way through. So this is a great tool for them, and hopefully we will see some improvements in our attendance that we'll be able to measure. Thank you for the presentation. So I'm going to bring it back to the board and seek a motion.
Thank you, Vice President Woodley. I move that the Board of Trustees directs the superintendent to engage with the Regional Transportation Commission, RTC, on the development of a long-term agreement to extend the current pilot program for Youth Ride Free, and to return to the Board of Trustees for possible approval.
And I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Westlake and Trustee Phoenix. We have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to item 3.02. This is a video presentation to celebrate the start of the 2026-27 school year with introductions of new school principals and voices from students, staff, and families from various schools throughout the Washoe County School District. This is presentation only. Thank you. I will like to welcome up here Jennifer Van Tress, our Chief Academic Officer, Chris Hackbush, Chief Academic Officer, and Michelle Anderson, our Chief Communications and Public Relations Officer. Welcome.
Thank you. We'll start with the PowerPoint first. Good afternoon, Vice President Woodley, Trustees, Superintendent McMaster, Michelle Anderson, Chief Communications, Public Relations Officer for the record. Say that 12 times fast. Next to me, I'm honored to have my two colleagues join me, and they'll introduce themselves in just a moment. The start of the school year is always busy and an exciting time, and this year's no different. In the coming days, hopefully, we look forward to welcoming all of our students back in our schools. This includes the rest of our schools in the Valley and our incline schools. Before we start, though, we want to pause just to send our thoughts to those that are impacted by these wildfires in our region. As you can imagine, all of our principals have their hands full, as this is the second day for many, and for others, they're preparing to open their schools, so we purposely did not ask them to attend in person today. But it was important for us, however, to highlight our new school principals, whether they were new to a building or new to being a principal. I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Hackbush and Ms. Van Tress for those introductions, and then we'll wrap up with a video so you can hear directly from some of our principals and our students. I think it'll warm your heart.
All right, good afternoon. Chris Hackbush, Chief Academic Officer for Secondary. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, new school leadership. I'll kick us off. Warner Elementary School, Barbara Barker. Van Gorder Elementary School, Rebecca Brummer. Matthews Elementary School, April Koldani. Veterans Elementary School, Jennifer Dolan. Marvin Piccolo, Denise Dufresne. Hall Elementary School, Elliot Grothy. Desert Heights, Mindy Hamill. And Verdi Elementary School, Monique Madrid.
And good afternoon, Jennifer Van Tress, Chief Academic Officer. And I'm proud to announce our page 2 of our new principals. So Desert Skies Middle School, we have Catherine Phillips. Sepulveda Elementary School, David Prell. Hid Valley Elementary School, Shannon Ramachati. Washoe Inspire Academy, Leah Ramsey. Dilworth Middle School, Dana Robert. Gom Elementary School, Amanda Schlatter. Beck Elementary School, Ryan A. Smith. And Dodson Elementary School, Carrie Zabel.
I want to make sure that students know that they have a voice here on campus and that they will be welcomed and respected.
I really hope for a positive, rigorous environment for all of our students and for our families to really show that engagement piece and really work together with our teachers to build that positive culture.
Our public education system is valuable. No matter where you come from, if you enter public education, you have the right to be here, and we educate every kid.
Really, it's the sense of serving my community and being there for my neighbors and supporting the next phase of our community.
Public education really inspires me because there are so many different people that work together to make the learning environment inspiring for our students to be the best that they can be.
When you believe in people, they really rise up to that level. Because sometimes people don't believe in themselves, sometimes students don't. And I think it's powerful when someone else gives them that belief.
Really building trust within the building with the families, the community, the faculty, and giving them opportunity to come in and have themselves be heard and build that relationship with them.
It takes a community to build a great child, and so working together with the families and the teachers to just prepare our children for the future.
Your child matters,
We're going to give them strong instruction, and we are going to make sure that they know that they can succeed, and they will succeed.
New friends, new classes, learning new stuff.
Soccer and basketball. Just really getting good grades. Having good grades. Having good grades and living a good life. I wonder how nice my teachers are gonna be.
I think it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be like fun. Finding my classes on time.
Yeah, I'm gonna study harder in my house. I'm gonna tell my mom to teach me a little bit more on multiplication.
I'm excited, but like this year I'm not in the same class as my best friend, so I'm like talking with my friends and teaching them like what I do in cheer. I feel safe here. I love how the teachers are. I just want to say thank you to school.
And I think this year is gonna be the best.
And that sums up why we are all here. I do want to thank our communications team, specifically Jeff Foss and Andy Casaneri, who were helpful in getting that video filmed with all the numerous other responsibilities for the start of the school year. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful presentation. That's a great way to start the year. I'm gonna, should we check for public comment first? We have none. Thank you. No action. It's not an action item. Yes. So please feel free. Trustee Westlake.
Oh. It's been on this whole time. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I'll start us off. Again, professionally done, and good job on all the staff, getting the work done, all the legwork that goes behind it, and actually putting a face with a name. So that was a huge deal, so thank you very much.
I will say that my colleague next door helped me understand, because I'm like, where's Amanda? And where's April? And new means new. New as in the principal role.
New to the building. Yes, new to the building.
New to the building. Okay, thank you.
So we did not, as you can see, we have 103 principals. Many of those that were on the list were not new principals, so we just grabbed some of them. Trying to get all of them in a video would still be on the video.
That was really fun. Thank you for doing that. And I had the opportunity to attend the all admin day last Friday, the previous Friday, back to school week. It's crazy. And it was really fun to see all the other principals celebrating the principals and the new to building and all the movement. And I just wanted to shout out Shannon Ramachati. I attended Hidden Valley's first day of kindergarten, first and second grade, and helped wrangle the kids yesterday. And she had that building just running like clockwork already, and it was great to see so many of her Dotson teachers already moving over there and getting ready for that transition. That was really wonderful to see. So I just wanted to just share that they're doing great.
Thank you so much once again. Appreciate it. All right, moving on with the agenda. Item 3.03, the next item on the agenda is a presentation, discussion, and possible action to determine Washoe County School District bill draft request and update the legislative platform for the 2027 Nevada legislative session and 26-27 biennium. Our presenters today is Dylan Shaver from Pinion Public Affairs and Tess Opferman from Pinion Public Affairs. Two more individuals that I used to work with as well. Had the pleasure. We will have two motions on this item. One will be to approve the district's legislative platform, and the other will be to approve which topic for the Washoe County School District's one bill draft request. Thank you. Welcome, Dylan. Welcome, Tess.
Thank you so much for having us here today. Vice President Woodley, Trustees, Superintendent McMaster. It's our first presentation to you since the new superintendent has been sworn in. Do you get sworn in? Has taken her important job. So congratulations, and congratulations to all of you for getting this school year off to a start. We are here to talk about WCSD's bill draft request. We've presented on this a couple of times to you this year, and we are slated for you to make a decision today. We believe that we've provided you with the tools you need to make that decision. Should you disagree, should you want to go to a different direction, you do have the option to discuss this at your meeting on August 25th. Either way, we have to submit something to the Legislative Council Bureau to at least start the drafting process. And just to make sure that we're all on the same page, we don't have to have final language on anything today. Final language likely would not come back to the trustees. We would likely, when we saw the legal language come back from LCB, run it by the legislative liaison for the trustees, superintendent, make sure the intent is correct. And if you remember from last session, we would then work on it throughout the entire session, hopefully to a positive outcome. No promises. This year, unlike previous years, we saw pretty significant interest in what this bill draft could be about. I think in total, when we surveyed staff, we had something in the area of 26 recommendations between ELT, just various directors from across the district and from the 7 of you. So that was a unique challenge for us, as well as layering on top of that you were sort of going through a transition between superintendents at the time, just to sort of have another ball in the air for us to juggle. You guys like to keep it fun. And so as a team, Tess and I and the rest of Team Pinion got together and kind of went through the proposals and sorted them into kind of 5 key areas. Some of these we've discussed previously. Money and finance, obviously the biggest thing affecting public education still to this day in this state. The fact that Nevada lags so far behind in per pupil funding for education is going to be the root of a lot of our problems. And the decoder is not set. There it goes. I was thinking of something clever to say about decoders, but I guess I'll just move on. So money and finance obviously is going to continue to be a challenge for public education in this state. We saw great ideas coming along in the areas in the area of human resources. Last session we ran sort of an HR bill. You remember the Excellence in Every Hire Act, we called it, to clear some roadblocks in finding talented educational personnel. That bill obviously passed. There are some sort of hotter topics that came up, including the provisions about public employee strikes, the leave status that charter school personnel get if they leave the district and go to a charter that is maybe not sort of parity in the way that we would treat other school districts, for example. There were a lot of concepts that came through on the operational side of things. This is where, I've talked about this with the team. It's a great idea. The EpiPen language in Nevada laws requires the specific EpiPen. The technology has moved beyond that. The team says it'd be great if we could fix that. And I say, yeah, I think it's a great idea. I don't know that you want to dedicate your whole bill draft to it. And there's great ideas like that show up. And I bring that up because while you get one BDR that shows up, we do work with legislators and work with the other school districts when there's an opportunity in another bill to solve some of these things that come up. We try and find those. And so none of these would we recommend get left on the cutting room floor per se, but with 26 ideas, we have to have some sort to get to you today. So that leaves really kind of 2 areas where the team were sort of drawn. One is this sort of bucket of student support, and the kind of wrap services that our families interface with, and creating both some consistency between state and federal law, whether it's IDEA or in other places, that would allow us to more seamlessly interact with the juvenile justice system, for example. There were also some ideas that came out about changing the Title IX investigation timeline so that we can conduct a sort of more trauma-informed method of investigation. And then there were sort of things that came out of instruction, specifically as it relates to calculation of GPAs for people enrolled in dual credit situations, as well as taking a look at what does and doesn't count as seat time for example, a high school senior who may be spending half their day at some sort of internship. You know, some of these things have not modernized as the educational system has. So we took all those ideas, we applied another layer of analysis, and that was sort of like a feasibility versus impact. Obviously, highest impact is going to be finding a way to sort of quote-unquote fix education funding. Feasibility, if I could just go to the legislature and do that for you, I would have done it by now. But I think we all know that the public education in this state has been singing from that songbook for a very long time. The ability for WCSD to sort of show up with its own bill that just kind of does that. Doesn't feel right, doesn't feel specific to the district. Some of the HR measures that came forward, while I think great idea, would probably just end up in something of a political buzzsaw, whether it's work comp or things like that. The other interest groups involved with that we probably would require multiple sessions to address some of those larger HR-related issues. And then as it relates to some of the other finance questions, whether it's special ed, categorical funding, other districts are coming forward with things like that, and we are trying to work with them. So we really then focused in on those student supports or instructional bills, and here again around the topic that we call instructional innovation. The concept is just to modernize a system that allows us to more accurately measure student mastery and identify some of those little areas where efficiencies are not occurring. Specifically, as I already mentioned, the way we count attendance is working against our schools in terms of funding, the way block schedules work when kids are in high school. You know, if a kid is at an internship for a third of the day, well, that block schedule is going to set it up so that they miss half a day, and suddenly we have a chronic absenteeism issue with a student that's getting like a 4.5 GPA. And so obviously there is something kind of out of whack with the way we're counting there. The other challenge we're seeing there is it's actually probably, and I'm not saying that students are doing this, mind you, especially looking at the student representative right now. I am not an education professional, but our understanding is that it is theoretically possible to game the GPA system by engaging in sort of dual credit courses because the way NDE and others sort of require us to calculate those enrollments. So you can actually get a higher GPA and have less mastery over time, which then pegs back to really core mission for WCSD. So we identified those areas I've already mentioned. Should the board opt to go in this direction with your bill draft request, and it would be true of any topic, we would then go back to staff and say, this is the general umbrella that the board wants us to move in. This is the direction we got. Here's the conversation that happened. Is there anything else you'd like for us to include in the request? We would then fill out the paperwork to LCB and submit it, and they would give us a bill that they wrote. Next slide. There are great attorneys at LCB. They have to draft about 1,200 bills, and sometimes their interpretation of what a law means and our own general counsel's interpretation of what that same change would mean just requires some massaging and some meetings of the mind. The second concept that kind of bubbled to the top here again has to do with student support and other social services. I already mentioned kind of changing the Title IX investigation timeframes to allow us to provide a little more of a trauma-informed. Right now, it's a very short time frame that the team goes in and investigates those things. There are kind of soft reentry protocols for students coming out of the juvenile justice system into the back into the district that doesn't optimize sort of agencies working together and being able to do what's right for the child. And then there are sort of federal protections for what we call students in transition here that don't match up with the state law. So kind of finding a state way to match these things. Those three concepts kind of bubbled up here. Again, as with the last one, we'd go back out to staff and say what else kind of fits in this bucket. We draft the paperwork, we show the superintendent, we submit it to LCB. I will flag, if you need a tiebreaker, these are all sort of great ideas. I don't think we got, of the 26, 27, we got anything that we looked at and we said, well, that's kind of dumb. That did not happen. But again, we have to have some method of winnowing this down for you and making responsible recommendations. So to that end, I gave you two options here today. If you were to say, hey, Dylan, Team Pinion, those are both great options, what would it hinge on? What would the fulcrum be? To me, the answer to that question is, what outside agencies are we tasked with working with to accomplish some of these things? How many other stakeholders are at the table? In that world, the just again from a policymaking perspective, the kind of wrap services concept has a lot of other government agencies that have their own perspective that we would then have to convene around the table to pursue some of these changes, and it becomes kind of a much more challenging project. And just like an engine or any other engineering project, the more moving pieces you have, the more likely it is to break. So if you were sort of asking us to kind of pick one or the other, that was just a warning that I would throw out there for you. As we mentioned, the action required is just directing the superintendent on the topic that you would want her to pursue with the 2027 legislature. Again, making this motion today does not take anything off the table to be pursued. It just takes things off the table to be pursued with this one bill. So, I think that there's probably some other ways to go after legislation. It is perennially a very compelling topic for lawmakers. There are already several bill draft requests that sort of make various changes relating to education that we're working with sponsors on to learn what they're doing and things like that. So there will be other bites at the apple and other things good up. If you choose not to give that direction today, you're essentially giving yourself 14 days, but we would be here on the 25th to have the same conversation. And then, of course, like I said, our deadline to submit to the Legislative Council Bureau would be September 1st, 2026. I think, yep. That seems like a good place to stop, answer any questions you might have, or I can just do a little tap dance, whatever you're looking for today.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. I think we're going to have a lot of discussion, I believe. So I think maybe we can go to public comment first so we can start that discussion.
Kaylin Evans.
Hello, for the record, Kaylin Evans here, president of the Washoe Education Association. Wanted to share a little bit about kind of what our priorities as an association are going to be, and understanding that, as an organization, you won't only get, one BDR, but I think, as we know, that there's going to be opportunities for collaboration. This legislative session, I know we say it every legislative session, but when we look at enrollment and we look at the current trends within education and we look at the economic outlook, I could say, I think we could say that effectively it's going to be one of the most, if not the most impactful legislative sessions that we have coming up. And so I think it's just imperative that we look at ways that we can collaborate on some of these pieces. So A couple big pieces. I know the AB 398 money, right? The AB 398 was the funds that are being currently used for our differentiated tiered pay scale. Those are targeting our most hard to fill positions. That is going to end if it's not continued in some capacity. So we've made, I know if you had our chief officer from HR up here, he would tell you about the gains we've made around those positions, but a lot of that has to do with the targeted recruitment. And so if those funds go away, unfortunately, we might be back in the same situation. For us as an organization, we really need to continue focusing both at the local and state level around student behavior. I know Trustee Smith can speak to being on the retention and recruitment committee for educators. I believe it was the second most beyond just people leaving the profession due to moving or their spouse got a job. So it was the leading number one cause, I'm getting cute, number one issue, reason why teachers are leaving the profession at nearly 50% of the people, educators. 50% of the educators that are leaving the profession just recently said that student behavior was the leading cause for that. We have to continue to do more around supporting and creating safe and respectful working conditions in our schools. Really, nothing else matters if we don't have a place where parents want to send their kids and that students want to go and feel safe. And I know we're working on that. I know it's a very complex issue, but that should really be at the forefront of us as a district. And we have to look at both how can we address it legislatively and then going back at the state policy level. Wow, that time flew. Real quickly, we are also looking at our two bills that we've already had submitted. One is around K-3 class size reduction. We need to reduce class sizes across all K-12, but we also understand that we need to start where we can. Doing a targeted approach around K-3 class size reduction is really important, especially if we think about the requirements for read by grade 3, looking at targeting at-risk schools first and then kind of expanding it based on funding, and then caseload reduction around counselors and social workers. We have one of the highest counselor caseload numbers in the entire country, same with our class size. Those areas of trying to get targeted supports. We have some others, but I'm out of time, so I just look forward to working with the district. We look forward to working with you all going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
That's all I have.
Thank you, JJ.
If you don't mind,
go ahead.
I just to add some color to that, with these ideas that we show up with, as well as your platform, we try and work with Mr. Evans and some of the other bargaining units as well. And I just wanted, while he has sat down, to sort of compliment him in this setting, that at least in our time servicing this contract, we haven't always seen eye to eye, obviously, but they have never thrown up barriers to working together or anything like that. They've always been very open to suggestions coming from the district. So.
Thank you. That's amazing. That's good information. Now I'll defer to our trustees.
Thank you, Vice President. So I can confirm that. So at our most recent meeting, so I serve as the Vice Chair of the Nevada Commission on Recruitment and Retention of Public Educators. And some of the data that we got back did actually share with the Commission that the number one reason outside of educators leaving or moving due to other circumstances is actually related to student behavior. So my quick question is, in the lead up to this for the BDR ideas and then also for the platform, I was curious about the role that our legislative representative played in the lead up to today.
Go. Okay, thanks. Thanks for queuing that up. I appreciate it. I met with Dylan and Tess back in the spring, I think. I can't remember what month it was, but we met and went through kind of the last year's platform and talked through all of the topics, and then really looked at the new things coming up. And it coincided with the same in the middle of the meetings that we had with NASB, which was the Nevada Association of School Boards, that we were also talking about kind of the big picture of what all the districts were talking about. So the timing was really great that I had that opportunity to sit down with them. And then last week, Tess and I had scheduled for, I think, a half an hour, and then we talked for an hour and a half through all of these ideas and the potential feasibility, and talked about kind of the areas that I had seen in the Commission on Recruitment and Retention, the NASB conversations that we've had, and lots of other things that we had. So I felt very included in the process, appropriately included in the process, and feel really comfortable with the direction that we're going based on our platform in the past and the conversations that we've had as a group here at the dais of kind of what we'd like to see going forward in our district. So I feel good about that. I mean, I can kind of kick off my thoughts on the BDR potential.
Yes, please. Thank
Sure.
you, Clerk Hall.
So I, after really sitting with it and Tess sharing more about the background of the two ideas, I think they're both incredible and could be really transformational to our district. But based on the conversations and the things that we're really hearing from our community, having some movement in the direction of flexibility of instructional time and seat time. We've had conversations about the calendar. We've had conversations about instructional minutes in elementary. We've had a lot of conversations about advanced opportunities for our kids. We've had several presentations on internships and dual enrollment. We've heard a lot about all of these things. And I myself sat on the Blue Ribbon Commission back in 2020. And that entire Blue Ribbon Commission was about the idea of competency-based learning and how we could potentially move that direction rather than this minutes idea, right? It's called the Carnegie Unit, and moving away from the idea of the Carnegie Unit. And so I personally would really like to see us move forward with the instructional one, because I think that gives us the broadest opportunity to move our instruction to the next place that we're really working towards. There's a lot of barriers that we have as a district. Just yesterday, hearing from the kindergarten teachers and the barriers that we had because we have to have them there for 180 days and we can't start a week later anymore. And those barriers that have been put in place from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, I think the instructional BDR has the potential to move us in the direction that I think most of us really want to see. And while I think the other one is wildly important, I think to Dylan's point, it involves a lot of other agencies and organizations and might be something that we continue to work towards, and maybe can make some progress this session. Maybe there'll be a legislator who really loves the idea and wants to take that up and help us, but it seems like it's a much more complicated bill. And when I really think about our strategic plan, the BDR that's on instructional time and instructional innovation seems to align best with our strategic plan. So that's where I land on it, and I just wanted to share that, but happy to have a discussion on it.
Thank you. Yes, Trustee Smith.
If Clerk Hall is done, I was gonna continue on with that because you answered the question. And so I'll plus one onto that. Between the two options here, not getting into the platform side of the item, but just staying on the BDR, I'm also more interested in the instructional innovation. And I appreciate the clarification that this is a method or could be a way to address how chronic absenteeism, particularly in high schools. So we know that number has been going up, but not in a way that makes sense. I mean, chronic absenteeism is, of course, something we want to minimize, but in the way that they're computing this, it doesn't really reflect what's actually happening, which means that the data point is not reliable. And then when you add that on top of the fact that it's used like what's it called, a billy club as it relates to star ratings, then you really have an issue. And so the implications of how this is calculated and what it really means versus what we're actually trying to accomplish are immense. So if this BDR could help address what we're seeing right now, particularly with chronic absenteeism in high schools, and then also standardizing the way dual credit enrollments, that is definitely an issue that I've heard about. So I think that exploring this option is definitely a really good choice. Thank you.
Thank you. This is complicated. There's so many things, and I really appreciate that you have to deep dive this, and wow, it's hard work. I think for me, and not kind of disclosing where I lean, although instructional innovation is so very broad, there's one thing I want to say for sure, and that is that we have got to fight for no unfunded mandates, because once our BDR gets behind the screen, all of a sudden we are charged with doing this on our own, whatever it ends up being. And we cannot allow that to happen. And at a higher elevation, being the president-elect for the Nevada Association of School Boards, I think about all 17 school districts. Yes, I'm elected to Washoe County School District, honored to do so. Take my responsibility seriously. And then I think also of our colleagues in the other 16 school districts. And what I would like to know is, how do you navigate something so complex as finding out from the other school districts, maybe via NAS, superintendents, what's in their heart, what will help them, what moves us as a collective in Nevada forward? Because when we get up in the morning, it's really about every student in Nevada, and if we can create a collective voice, maybe even viewing it a little differently because of our communities, that's fine. But if we can develop that collective voice, I think I will bravely say, maybe naively say, we can have a slam dunk. And so tell me how you discuss these ideas with our colleagues throughout the state.
Thank you so much for the question. My favorite type of question is one that, while I did not show up today to prepare for it, it does allow me to show off a little bit. And so thank you so much, Dr. Nicolette, because we have been working, and we do primarily, as you mentioned, work when it comes to working with other districts. The most appropriate way, at least for the Pinion team, to engage with those districts is through the Nevada Association of School Superintendents. And the previous superintendent had directed us to help them kind of go through a priority setting exercise. And in fact, the last time we were in front of this board, it was to ask for you to approve of their platform called Invest. We do have kind of a special relationship with that organization because of that, but not just through their sort of monthly meetings. There is, and in fact, one of the things that will happen after today is I will send an email to the other superintendents and say, this is where WCSD intends to go. Please give us your thoughts, your feedback, what have you. So not only did we have the opportunity to collect sort of their thoughts during the creation of Invest, but then we sort of have it on the back end as well. But it doesn't stop there, and I don't want to say that there are other folks who are not kind of at the table, because Tess has been running meetings. These typically happen at Pinion's office between NASB and NAS and the Clark County District and some of the sort of others, just to, collaborate. You very accurately point out there's so much to do in the space of public education, and one district, and you can be as strong and as professional as this one. You can have the resources of Clark County behind you, but realistically, one district isn't going to get it done. And so we try and collaborate along the way to make sure that everybody, we all have different priorities, but we're not working against each other, and that we're kind of elevating one another where it's appropriate and practicable.
Thank you so much, and thank you for reminding us about the Invest 2027 document. So I'm going to put you on the spot, but hey, you already showed off, now show off again, right? In the Invest document that was so well vetted throughout our state, what we're suggesting today, the two, innovation and then students, do you see those both in the Invest document? You see the overlap, the ability for us to move together as a collective voice?
Without having the document in front of me or memorized, I can sort of tell you yes and not cite my sources. But you know, I can say that taking both NAS and WCSD through a similar process, a lot of the things that showed up in Invest came from our asking our own team sort of what should be in here, what should the superintendents be pursuing, and the other way around. The Venn diagram and the creation of sort of both platforms had a lot of overlap. And so while I can't sort of chapter and verse say this is where Invest would tell us to do this, I can confidently say that the process that created Invest certainly envisioned bills like this.
All right, thank you. Yes, Milo.
My bad. Just a quick, as student representative, just a little shout out to you guys as well as to the rest of the Board of Trustees. I'd like to shout out the importance of student voice, I think, in these discussions, just hearing it. I was a little bummed out to hear that during the survey that you said at the beginning of the presentation, you surveyed staff, trustees, and directors, and not really a mention of students, which, teachers is about the closest you'll get to the students, which is already, really close to a student's perspective. But I think, more could be done. And I know that you can't make this draft request bill about every single idea, kind of like what you mentioned with the EpiPens earlier. But I think you can get a big overall, especially in instructional innovation, if you can get an idea of like where to go in those directions if you get student opinion. Not saying it's bad that you guys didn't, because it's okay. But for the future, I think it'd be important to get students involved in these kinds of things, even though it's boring and, like Dr. Nicolette said, really complicated. There's students who aspire to be, future legislators and things of that nature. So I'm sure that's something that they'd want to get involved in. So, yeah, thank you, though.
All right, great input. Thank you, Milo. Thank you. You're earning your non-paying position.
I can't vote, so I got to talk somehow.
That's great. Thank you, Milo. Thank you. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to get input from our CEO, Ms. McMaster, if you don't mind sharing your thoughts.
Sure, absolutely. First of all, team opinion, thank you so much for your work on this and facilitating the process, and for the executive leadership team providing the input. I know it took a lot of work and many, many months to get to this point today, and really happy to see what's been brought forward to very worthy options in front of the board today. I think that, I've seen for many years working with Dr. Paula Marca and Randy Drake and the grants team, the way they somehow magically piece things together over the years and make things work. And it's not just our team, but relying on our community partners, whether it's through donors or resources through other agencies. It is miracles work, and it's for the right reason, to support our students and provide them with the mental health supports that they need. But I can see how it gets very, very complex with multiple people involved in that. And the good news is we have a lot of people working in the same direction. I will tell you from my former work as a principal, I was so excited to work on the pilot program through NDE about competency-based education. We got to sit there and listen and learn about all these ideas, all these innovative ideas of what education could become, and it was so exciting. And then I would come back to the building and try to implement things and try to pilot them, only to get stopped by institutional barriers or archaic systems that were in place. Those were real things that were just kind of devastating at the time. And when I think about the future of education and being innovative and trying new things, the idea of really tackling some of those barriers is pretty exciting. So again, both are worthy, and happy to have staff work on whatever initiative the board desires. But I think there's some exciting opportunities in terms of competency-based education, seat time, internships, tackling issues with how dual credits calculated, Carnegie Unit, all of those things that have been a little bit of a struggle or roadblock along the way could be some exciting territory. So thank you for allowing me to give some input.
Thank you so much. Yes, Clerk Hall?
Well, what Superintendent McMaster just shared, it reminded me that one of the results of that Blue Ribbon Commission on the competency-based learning was the portrait of a learner. And my thought was, again, leaning towards the instructional innovation bill personally, is that one of the barriers in the second bill has a lot to do with that seat time and those requirements. And so I'm kind of wondering if that actually helps us get closer doing the instructional innovation bill and potentially the changes that could happen with it, pending how LCB writes it for us. But that could get us closer to solving some of the problems in the second one rather than going the opposite direction. My thought is that there may be some opportunities to fix some of those barriers. Having taught at mostly Title I schools, I do know some of those barriers that students really face, children in transition and students leaving juvenile hall. Some of those barriers could be solved with the instructional innovation bill potentially. So again, leaning towards that, it feels that it's the opportunity to impact the most students as well. And so, but when you said that, I was like, oh, that's just a thought. So but I'll let everybody else share.
Yeah, just to add on, thinking about what Dr. Diane Nicolette was mentioning as well, when I think about our rural communities and the resources that they have or lack, I think about, we have an opportunity to provide our students with a lot of dual credit options and internships and advanced coursework because it's part of our strategic plan. But what about some of our smaller districts that don't have those opportunities, that have not only these institutional barriers, but they don't have the resources that we have? So I think about, the good that this could do across the entire state.
Thank you. I will share. Thank you for the presentation, Dylan, and the information, especially the point you made about having a bill that might involve others. I remember a story for myself. I was down there around 2009, and I remember I was ordering a sandwich, and we were there for BDR for the city of Reno, and I was told, you need to come here and meet with Senator so-and-so because someone else is tagging the bill, and they want to make these changes, and I didn't get to eat my sandwich. I didn't even get to pick up the sandwich. I had to run across the street. So, yeah, that was devastating. So I know it can be very, very, very troublesome. So I think, exactly, I'm still thinking about it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move forward first. Oh, yes, ma'am, I'm so sorry. Yes, please, Trustee West.
My light was on and then it went off. I don't know. And then it was on and I didn't know it was on. So thank you. I caught that and I'm like, oh, shoot. I appreciate everything you guys have done and the comments up here, my colleagues. I guess my mind works a little weirder. I'm going off of what my colleague, Dr. Nicolette said. And between the two, after she had said about the unfunded mandates, I am looking at this and the student support and social services. I can see that opening up just a vast unfunded mandate world for us, them saying, okay, you need to have this in place and this in place and this in place for this student. And I can see that just becoming a huge, huge mountains for us. And I know that the people that we have that are working for our children that need these services, Dr. Lamarca, Jen Van Tress, all of them, I trust that they have the students' best interests at hand, and they're going to move the mountain to get to the other partners that we have at our fingertips sometimes to help bridge these gaps and make things happen for the students that need special support. Whereas if the state gets involved, it is going to be one unfunded mandate after another, and probably will not have the best results that we have now. So I would have to say, I think the instructional innovation is going to reach more kids. It will help the rurals. It's going to support our teachers in moving instruction forward. So I just wanted to throw that in as kind of a cautionary tale that the other, probably the state getting their little fingers in there would not forebode well for us. So thank you.
All right, Alex, before you cut me off, I'll go next. Sorry. Just to finish it up, I know we went around. I love to listen to the colleagues because they always have good things to say. And a lot of them are a lot more involved and have a lot more details and have a lot of good discussion. So I always like to kind of bring it all in. And then for me, just looking at I just take my fundamental logic side for success. I look at the instructional innovation, and I look at it's one NRS chapter. It might be a big chapter, but it's not multiple chapters, or at least a couple of chapters. And earlier, one of the colleagues said, to try to tackle that beast in this one session, we might have some success, we may not. But really kind of looking at everything else that they talked about, the success and everything, and the flexibility for learning, and all that other good stuff there. For me, having that one strong, straightforward, hopefully probability of success in this next session to try to reach this one here is where I'm looking at trying to make a win there. You know what I mean? If we go big and we try to go hard for the other, we just may or may not make it. You know what I mean? But I just look at the logic side of it here for me is looking at, in order to achieve success, we're looking at what is the best probability of making that happen. So I look at that there. And I appreciate all the work that you all done and all the comments that everybody's made. So thank you.
All right, thank you. I think I misspoke earlier. I think we're going to move forward with the platform update first.
Between the two of us, Mr. Vice President, that's entirely up to you. So we will roll forward with the process for updating the Washoe County School District platform. You may recall we were here on this in June as well, and we had proposed a series of changes to the platform. The most, I think, enduring of which was really to have the platform be a living document rather than approving a new one every 2 years before a legislative session, sort of just have it reflect your principles as you have them. And that allows the document to kind of live on, but it also allows you to make adjustments for things should the need arise for whatever reason. Before I jump into the conversation, I want to remind everybody what we use the platform document for. Its primary function is to ensure that the superintendent does not have to come back to you every time a bill comes up to sort of poll you and see what direction the trustees kind of think the district should be oriented on. And for the most part, I think that it serves well to perform that function. There's always going to be political friction when it comes to things like that, whatever the group or interest may be, to say, well, when we put this in the platform, it didn't occur to us that somebody would be mad about it. And we try, sometimes more successfully to others, and I'm looking specifically at Vice President Woodley, we try to make sure that it doesn't splash onto the trustees or the district when those tensions occur to varying degrees of success. So based on the conversation we had a couple of months ago, we took your feedback, we incorporated some of that feedback into the document. We've dispensed with certain types of feedback when we sort of went down the road, and I'm going to use just this expand competency-based learning language, right? In the platform, we want to really dig into what some of these things mean, and that was kind of the feedback we got. And, you know, kind of like, this detail needs to be considered, that detail needs to be considered. In situations like that, what we're recommending is, okay, this platform has to do a job, and perhaps these conversations are too detailed for the platform to be the appropriate venue for that. So you will see flags here that are essentially, let's create basically a separate white paper just on this topic that really dives into it. It's a little more work for our team, but I think that with the experts at the superintendent's disposal, that we can do it and still kind of meet your intent. So essentially, like, okay, we've heard your feedback, let's take that, let's incorporate it into a separate thing that might not be the platform, but really lays down the principles that WCSD is looking for in some of those issue areas. Some things were pretty easy and straightforward changes. We went ahead and made those. I think that there's a couple, and Tess will tell me if I'm wrong, where it just didn't feel appropriate to address, and so we sort of didn't, for lack of a better word. But we've really done our best to capture what you wanted us to coming out of our last meeting. So like I said, the expanding the competency base, we're just going to quickly go through what that feedback was and what we did with it. So again, with expanding competency-based learning, our recommendation is to keep the platform itself big picture. We will likely have to kind of then create a separate kind of white paper talking about competency-based learning. You all seem to be leaning towards a bill in this area, which will then allow for further opportunity for us to discuss it and hash out what our position is. Our first meeting with Trustee Hull, and I think Superintendent McMaster was there, but I don't think she was superintendent yet, if I'm remembering correctly. That came up, and both the superintendent and the trustee said, listen, this is a big issue. There's a lot of moving parts. We can't just show up and say, let's do competency-based learning. There have been pilots on this and all of that. And so that really informed a lot of our decision-making there. NDE funding for certain platforms or others, we wanted to stay away from referencing any individual platforms in the, and I should say, learning platforms or assessment platforms in the document itself, and instead focus again on the concept that you were getting at. And so what we did was we added language to say, strategic funding for education should include reimbursement for any state mandated assessment requirements, period, end of story. And whether that is iReady or, you know, we're all just going to show up at Vice President Woodley's house and take individual tests as he prescribes, whatever the state wants us to do, the money needs to be attached to it. Weighted funding is, again, an area that we make very clear our position on in the platform. There was discussion here at the trustees, and we're saying, okay, let's develop a white paper that actually shows legislators what the actual math is behind this, what WCSD is leaving on the table, what we think other districts are leaving on the table, because that's not in there. We think that that'd be very valuable. Again, we don't have to incorporate that directly into the platform to do what I think it is you said you wanted us to do. Next, class sizes. I've been talking a lot, and so I'm going to punt to Tess for this slide and possibly the next one if you're set up for it.
We'll
and,
do it.
We'll go from there.
Yeah, so class sizes, as we know, that's been an ongoing conversation. It's very important to us to have the right sized classes, but we also need those classes to be funded. So if we're going to have any sort of class size limitations, let's make those legally funded to the legal amount. The next piece would be mental health work ratios. So we know that we need mental health support staff, but if they're going to have ratios for those mental health support staff, we need that to be properly funded, commensurate with those employees. We can move on to charter hiring language. I know that's been a big conversation lately, requiring the school district to leave positions open when a teacher leaves for a charter school. We want to work on that. So that's something that we've included in special topic number 3 that focuses on our charter schools. The ACT as a student assessment tool. So again, we want to look at assessments and make sure that those are properly reflecting student success and school success. We don't know if the ACT is properly doing that. So we highlighted that in our next special topic number 2, testing, reporting, and state audits. We've highlighted, in this case, we have highlighted the test itself, as we know that the ACT might not properly be a good assessment tool for our students. We've got student data and safety privacy, especially in the age of AI growth. The more we have of data online of our students, we want to make sure that's protected. We created a whole new plank for that in creating space for students to thrive, so you'll see that in the document. Finally, we focused on revenue streams. This is always an important topic, but we want to make sure that at the very least revenue streams are pegged to inflation. We want to make sure that we're supporting the Commission for School Funding and proposals that come through that. So we've added a little bit of language to the document to highlight some more revenue streams in that document. And then I want to just say, so you've got the text document was part of the overall agenda item. And in that document, we've underlined the new items, so it's easy to go through and see where we've added language. As we've talked about, we want to have this document be evolving, but not drastically change every legislative session. So we've added, you know, a plank here and there. We've added some language here and there, but on the whole, we've tried to keep the document the same, so it's not evolving too much from session to session. So you'll see those are all of the changes that are reflected in that table, but you'll see those in the document underlined so you can see where those changes were made. I'll turn back to you if you would like it back.
Thank you so much for running through those tests. I forgot to bring water today. So the direction here, again, you can direct us to go do whatever you'd like. If you believe the text before you is sufficient, and you would vote to approve it, what we would do next is work with Michelle and her team to do a couple of things. One, it gets translated into Spanish. 2, it gets mocked up so that it can be kind of a pretty one-page front and back situation that we leave with legislators and we use for conversations like that. And then it would just sort of live in your records, and then we would bring back that same document either at the request of the superintendent or of the board and say, oh gosh, this issue's come up, we should really go in and dive into it. And again, that would be rather than just sort of adhering. Let me rephrase that. We would, of course, maintain the formal update structure, but this sort of allows flexibility for there to be other ways to look at it, and also, frankly, allows for us to rely on it in the interim in ways that we currently would not. If instead you would want to make additional changes that can be addressed in one of 2 ways. One would be you would just send us back to make whatever changes you prefer, and we'd come back to another board meeting. The other far more challenging way to do it, but a place where we ended up last time is you all had us put it on the screen and make edits in real time. We certainly can do that. But as to that being the best use of this board's time, I would not recommend it. And so the options are there for you. So you have 2 motions to consider that I think the Vice President will probably walk you through, unless there are any other questions for me and Tess.
So thank you so much for that. Trustee Smith, I'll go to you, but just to make sure, because we're still on the same agenda item, but since we had 2 different presentations, I want to ensure that we don't have any further public comment.
I have not received any additional cards.
Thank you. Trustee Smith.
Thank you, Vice President. In one trustee's view, I think this is really, really close. I would say really, really close. I have two specific areas, though, that I would ask for some additional inclusion on, and then I also want to be responsive to our public commenter. So the first area of the platform is related, we mentioned pre-K, I think in two places. There's a section around equitable funding, and then we, of course, call for universal pre-K. I would like to see a revised platform come back very specifically and explicitly calling for the full funding of pre-K students. So Superintendent McMaster, can I phone a friend with you and have you share with the board how pre-K students are not funded at the full level, yet we are expected and happy to completely support them with our administrative staff, behavioral health professionals, assessment for needs, and then also for their instruction?
Sure, I'll just give a high-level summary since I don't have exact numbers. So in short, educating a student in Washoe County School District, we receive about $6,800 per student. For pre-K students, we get roughly $6,800 or so per student. So we get about 2/3 funding for our pre-K students. However, a pre-K teacher doesn't cost the district any less than a K-12 teacher does. The resources that we provide to a pre-K student don't cost any less than they do to a K-12 student. So the funding is not equal. Therefore, it presents a lot of barriers, and we have a desire to expand pre-K. I know there's big push for universal pre-K, but for every pre-K student we educate, it's taking from the K-12 pot to do so. So that's the short summary anyway.
Thank you very much, Superintendent McMaster. And so that would be, again, one trustee's opinion. If this were to come back for a final approval at the next meeting, I would ask for an explicit inclusion for the full funding of pre-K students. I just wanted to ask a clarifying question in addition to that. When we were at the NASB meetings, I believe it was our Douglas County colleagues mentioned that there is a requirement in our special education pre-K that we have typical peers, but that they are also not funded, but there's a requirement for the districts to include those in that. Is that part of what you were explaining? Yeah, special education funding gets a little bit more complex, so I'm going to have Jen Van Tress, our Chief Jen Van Tress, come up and share that piece just a little bit more. If I just added a whole nother... It's not simple, I'm sorry. But it came up by several of the... I know Douglas brought it up, and then we had several others say, yeah, that's really a difficult piece of the pre-K funding. And so since Trustee Smith brought this up, I feel like if we're going to add something, and I like the direction she's going with this, I feel like I want to make sure that we're inclusive of the biggest concerns about pre-K funding. So I'm sorry if I threw a hornet's nest out there, but.
Thank you, Ms. Ventress.
Push the button for me. Good afternoon, Jennifer Van Tress, Chief Academic Officer, working with special education. So you are correct, Trustee Hull. In order for a school district to provide a full continuum of services for any child with a disability, we always want to start our children in our least restrictive environment, and that includes pre-K. And so if a pre-K student requires or is eligible for special education services, we always want to have that opportunity to start them with gen ed peers, other preschool students. Well, we don't keep a group of preschoolers out in the backyard to come in to be the peers. So we do recruit students from the neighborhood to be our typical peers in our full inclusion preschool programs. There is no funding for those students, but they are in our classrooms. We keep our ratios very similar. So if it is 8 students with a disability, we want 8 students with that are typically developing pre-K students, and those 8 we receive 0 funding for. But they do eat our lunches. They play on the playgrounds. They walk our halls. If they are injured, they go to the clinic. All of those things, just like any other child in our preschool programs.
Thank you for clarifying that. And I know that we've had a lot of questions from administrators when Trustee Smith and I were chairs of the zoning committee. We had several of our principals come to us with concerns about the ratios of just the staffing in general and the amount of students. And because of the funding, we haven't been able to properly, say, well, this is at you from pre-K to 5th grade, this is how many kids are in your school, because the pre-K is kind of a separate bucket. So I would add a friendly that I love your idea, and I think that is an area where we need to really spell out what fully funded means. And so what that looks like, maybe not on this document, but that having that backup for us and for Tess and Dylan when they're speaking on behalf of us to understand the full implications of what pre-K means. It's not just funding special education pre-K, it's funding all students who would be getting pre-K from our district and funding them at the same levels as our other students. And that goes to taking away from the other things, right? So not having our class sizes in K to 2, we can't reduce those class sizes anymore if we're taking away from the other classes. So I'm with you on that. I just wanted that clarification. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Van Tress. And that was very eye-opening for me because I wrongly assumed that our typically developed peers in those classrooms were also funded at 2/3. And to find out that we get 0 blows my mind. I would say I'm surprised, but I'm never surprised when I find the funding challenges that we have. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for that collaboration on that. So there's one other area that I had a specific suggestion to, and it falls under special topic number 2 of the platform, which is on the last page, as it relates to the NSPF, that's the Nevada School Performance Framework, and I'm curious to get the superintendent and my colleagues' thoughts on this. As a general statement, I loathe star ratings, and I believe that they are used to weaponize true and traditional public schools that exist to serve every single student in every single zip code at every single school with every single need. And I will remind the public that we are the sole educational system in Nevada that does so. Star ratings are used as a weapon. Now, I take pride, personally, that the Washoe County School District meets the needs of every student in every way. But when you look at how star ratings are calculated, I love the evolution of the language here that's underlined, but I'd like to also suggest a further evolution to this framework in the stars, because what we're seeing is schools that hold and host special programs, whether they be for behavioral needs or special educational needs. You have general education populations there, and then you have schools and professionals doing incredible work for children with deeply impactful needs. It is fundamentally unfair to have a school with multiple of these programs get the star ratings they have, because they really do not reflect the student growth and achievement in, I would say, a majority or in your general education. So you've got these schools that are wonderfully bringing in students and providing them an incredibly important developmental learning or behavioral change, and yet that's bringing down their star rating, and then that opens the door for, let's say, a charter school to come in and say, oh, you are 2 stars, but the reality is there are multiple special education programs. And by all, I am not suggesting that our children in special education programs should not meet developmental targets and we should not work with them. I am talking specifically about how star ratings are manipulated and weaponized against our schools. So what I'd like to suggest, this is not a verbatim change, but I'd like to make the recommendation that in the next version, we explore with the support of staff how we also ask for delineation of schools that have a certain percentage of students or certain programs, because again, these star ratings are being used against as weapons against schools that are hosting these programs and really doing incredible work that we should be so, so proud of. And yet this school is being, dinged for it. So that's more, it's not exactly as a clean direct edit as the other one was, but it is something that I think we should at least call out in some way, shape, or form so that you have the latitude in your conversations and that we've codified that in our platform. But I look forward to hearing the superintendent's thoughts and any of my colleagues. I have one more after this.
Just for clarification on that, I think what you're asking for is clearer business roles and maybe calculation methodology that would take into account what you're talking about.
Yes, all I am asking is that between this version and ideally the final maybe that comes at the next meeting, that Pinion team, Clerk Hall, and you with your team give some thought to that and evolve this language to at least recognize it in some way. That way you all have the latitude to do this work next session, just knowing that it came from us. Same thing, broad strokes, but just making it clear about what it is we're trying to accomplish. You would all determine what that new wording would look like, though. Okay. And the third one is to be responsive to our public commenter. I don't know where this would fit in the platform, but in the work on the Commission for Recruitment and Retainment, I don't know where recognition for student behaviors would fit in this, but I do know that it doesn't reference it at all. And so that's another area that the superintendent and maybe Pinion can give some thought to, where recognizing where that could fit, because there's a reality to that. We hear this all the time. All of our children deserve a free and appropriate education, and yet we have an entire classroom of children to educate, and we hear this loud and clear from our educators, from our principals, other families, other students, and we need to have the latitude to be able to handle, student behaviors in a way. So I don't know what that looks like or what section that goes in, but some recognition of that somewhere in the platform seems appropriate.
Can I ask, do you have it up? Empower our personnel. Their third bullet is safe and supportive workplaces, and then the next section is create space for students to thrive, and well-being and safety is there. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know you're a really good wordsmith. So if you want to, and then we can, if Superintendent McMaster has any thoughts, but I just wanted to identify those two sections if you wanted to peek through those, and if anything, makes you think of, it could be added here based on what President Evans was saying. Just wanted to ping those two spots for you.
I appreciate it, and I am literally a Smith too. So, I saw those two sections, and I feel I very much appreciate the offer, but I'm curious where they would go with it, because I thought, well, if you put it under empower our personnel, then it makes it sound like we've got to protect our staff from the students, which I'm not saying isn't accurate, but, and then create space for students to thrive. Having good boundaries is good with that too. I'm curious where the superintendent and the team would find its appropriate placement anywhere. As long as it references it somewhere in here, I would personally be happy, because again, this is the document that guides all of the advocacy in the next session, and at least recognizing student behavior there feels aligned with what the other districts are doing. So, thank you.
I appreciate that. I think we could have some discussions with staff. I can see an argument for it fitting in either one. I kind of lean right now towards the creating space for students to thrive seems to be the better fit, but we'll chew on that as a team.
Thank you, Trustee Smith.
Thanks, Vice President Woodley. So what I'm seeing, and it is really important that we protect the well-being of students. I mean, they're in our care. We have to make sure that we're protecting our students on and off campus, but we also need to protect our teachers. They're also in our care. Yes, they applied and were hired of their own free will, but somewhere we need to state that we are going to protect our teachers and to ensure their well-being, because all of these individuals we're responsible for. And so even though I think as an adult, most adults are going to emphasize children. I mean, that's what we're all here for, is for our children. But we have to ensure the safety of our teachers. We just have to. And I think at times that is let go as a lesser priority. Again, because children rise above everything, really. But at some point, we're going to have to come out and state that we will protect our teachers and other staff, bus drivers, principals, everyone that is in the business of serving our children. We have to state that we are there to protect them also. Thank you.
Thanks.
Clerk Hall.
President Evans brought this up, but it was also brought up in our last Commission on Recruitment and Retention, is the counselor's caseload and social workers caseload. And so it's in Empower Our Personnel, but it specifically says to cover mental health and support personnel. And so I'm just wondering, it's already kind of a long statement, but I'm wondering if that needs to be called out. And so I'd love to hear my colleagues' thought on that, specifically that counselors should be included in that concept, because our counselors' caseloads are giant. And they're asked to do a lot. And so I'm wondering if there's an appetite to include not just our school psychologists and social workers, but also our counselors in this particular, because we can't reduce the sizes until there's some funding for it. End of story. So just wanted to hear everybody's thoughts on that.
Looking around, I think there's a consensus on that. That makes total sense, absolutely. All right, are we having no further discussion? We're gonna see how we're gonna wordsmith this motion.
The good news is, though you were not wordsmithing from the dais, Dylan and I were wordsmithing in the document as you talked, so.
Yes, Mr. Schaefer.
So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. First is to remind you that you have two motions, Mr. Vice President. We're talking about the platform now, and we've got, of course, your bill draft request. Two, as it relates to student behavior and student discipline, I've been trying to find various iterations of your platform going back. That language actually used to be in the Empower Our Personnel section. It was something along the lines of ensuring instructional personnel had the tools they needed to keep control of their classrooms. And as to why it dropped off, I don't recall at the moment, but it should be pretty easy for us to get to. As it relates to your feedback, Trustee Hall's feedback surrounding the WEA proposal around counselor ratios and things like that, I think that we do sort of share a mind on that strategically. What we are trying to protect you from is putting it in your platform without the money piece, and then sort of leaving you exposed to like, okay, well then why didn't you do it? and because of course, you know, your budget covers a lot of needs that aren't always being met. And so, yeah, Tess has been sort of typing along with all of this. I think the motion, I don't even, again, I defer to you on what your motion would be to accomplish what you requested, but I think you would essentially just say you would continue this to your next agenda, and where when staff has heard the discussion, we just come back with a new version. If that's copacetic with legal, I don't know. The other motion, of course, is at your pleasure.
Sarah Montalvo, General Counsel. I think you can approve what you all discussed today, and you can just incorporate, say, approve the legislative platform in it with all of the additions discussed during, you know, the discussion component. Maybe you want to put a couple of the topics that were listed there. That way, you're not trying to start over, because they can approve a legislative platform. I think you're coming back anyway, but at least the groundwork that has been done, the approval of the platform with the additions that were all discussed here, it could be in the motion.
So I have a draft motion. When we did this to begin with, though, when Pinion first came, we provided that feedback. They've come back with an excellent next version, with great reasonings why they incorporated what they did that represented all the feedback, and I'd love to see another iteration of that, rather than getting too specific, because I personally can't approve a legislative platform that's not done. So that's why the draft motion that I had prepared, which is largely based off this, you know, is that I move that the Board of Trustees, but then it would go on to say, directs the superintendent to include its feedback in the next version of the Washoe County School District legislative platform, because Pinion and Superintendent McMaster and Chair Clerk Hall, they did that in this process super well. So I would say continue on with that. And so that's why the draft motion would just be to direct the superintendent to include, you know, its feedback in the next version, and then they would come back with that, because the process seems to have worked really well in this process.
So the idea being that it would come back on the second meeting in August?
Yeah, I wouldn't specify that. I'll leave that up to the superintendent and Pinion and Clerk Hall on when it comes back, so I don't want to time bind it. I'd rather them tell us when they want it to come back. It would come back. You would tell us when it would come back.
Can I ask Dylan a quick question on that? So the
Clerk Hall.
we have lots of feedback, sorry. So the platform doesn't have the time-sensitive issue as the BDR, correct?
That is correct.
Outside of making it pretty and having time to get it like printed for all the legislators, but
And that
we
is-
have a little more time with that.
Yes, and that is the primary time driver with the platform generally, and one of the reasons we recommended kind of removing the dates and such is because as a, for lack of a better word, as a marketing tool, as we talk to educators and other stakeholders about what it is we're doing up there, we just want to be able to provide it to them in a timely fashion. So yeah, the timeline is like any timeline in public organizations. The sooner is always going to be better, but it's,
Sure. And I know we do have a placeholder on our, I mean, essentially, you know, because you guys had already kind of said that you would come back on the 25th if needed, but if it's not ready, and you need more time to research or talk to other, then I like the idea of not giving that time bound. That, you know, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm glad to know that the platform piece doesn't have the time issue that the BDR does. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let's go ahead and move with the first motion. Trustee Smith.
I move that the Board of Trustees directs the superintendent to include its feedback in the next version of the Washoe County School District legislative platform for the 2027 Nevada legislative session in interim.
Second, Diane.
Okay, we have a motion from Trustee Smith and a second from Dr. Nicolette. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Okay, we're going to go on to the second motion. This is related to our selection of instructional innovation or student support and social services as the topic for the Washoe County School District's only one BDR.
Are we good on discuss? I just want to make sure we're good on discussion. Otherwise, I can do a motion, but I just want to make sure that we.
I believe we're good on discussion unless someone wants to have further discussion.
I really have, I think, a very simple question. So the motion, as I read it, is we're choosing a topic, we approve the topic, and then you'll come back, opinion will come back on the 25th of August with the final, not final, but wording for the BDR that you will move forward by September 1st.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to clarify. Actually, no. What we would do, and this would sort of parallel the system you did 2 years ago, is we would take your feedback, the discussion today, and incorporate that into a bill. The way the deadlines work and the way the sort of forms we file are, it's really about a 3-sentence description that we submit, so we don't really bring that back to the trustees to review. And then they give us the deadlines. For us to submit things are very different than the deadlines LCB works with. So typically we will get language back from LCB and there will be maybe 4 days for us to approve it. And so that doesn't always comport with the open meeting law and your board schedule and all of that. And so what we would do is we'd take this conversation, the proposals you've seen here today, and then we would just start the process of getting that appropriate paperwork filed.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So I can be very clear, and by the way, I trust the process, I do, and the people, and Trustee Hull, thank you for your work on this. I know sometimes it's hard to, you can't read our minds. That's probably a good thing. So if you could, before a motion is made, could you succinctly sum up what we will be working on?
Absolutely. So my understanding based on your conversations, there seems to be a preference towards the instructional innovation bucket, and I'll focus on that. Just to what we would submit to LCB based on the conversation today would be specifically to include 2 changes to NRS 389, one of which allows for districts, and it would probably have to, again, we're getting pretty far down the drafting road because we want to, now we're talking about how, but we would probably require the State Board of Ed to come up with regulations that better reflect a student's mastery of a topic in determining what does and does not count as seat time for purposes of calculating the Nevada School Performance Framework. So again, that's the how, based on the question you asked me. The other change we'd recommend that bill draft would be to likely, again, require the State Board of Education to adopt a series of standard mechanisms whereby the grade point average for dual enrollment classes are calculated. On top of that, we would also, again, in the context of the conversation you had there, go back to academics, go back to classrooms and say, hey, what else in this topic area would be better and do we think fits within the district's intent here? We did include the word innovation very intentionally when discussing this because, and we've had a lot of conversation around the idea that this sort of mastery-based learning system, so we'd really try and keep things narrow into that scope of things within Chapter 389. And then per your feedback previously, we also shopped other districts. Hey, this is what we're doing. We hear their stories and things like that as well. They were very helpful with your Excellence in Every Hire Act 2 years ago, and we would most likely proceed accordingly. So it may have sounded like a simple question, and that was an awful lot of words to answer it, but I hope I've done so appropriately.
I want to thank you. You answered it beautifully. I don't know about perfectly, that remains to be seen. I definitely heard the pencil and the pen information in there, and thank you. It helps me a lot, and I hope it helps my colleagues.
No, that's good information, and you're right, because LCB has to work on that, and also, when they do draft, make sure they don't conflict with other sections of NRS, NAC, et cetera. Thank you.
Okay, I can make a motion then. All right. I move that the Board of Trustees approves the instructional innovation as the topic for the Washoe County School District's one bill draft request for the 2027 Nevada legislative session.
I second.
All right. Thank you, Clerk Hall made the motion, and our second was from Trustee Westlake. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, that passes unanimously. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Shaver.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President and trustees. We will get to work.
All right, we're on the other side of the hill. We're moving on to item 3.04, presentation, discussion, and possible action for the Board of Trustees to approve the process for collecting feedback and revising the current Washoe County School District strategic plan during the 2026-27 school year. This item is for possible action, and our presenters today is Deputy Superintendent Don Gotti, Chief Communication Public Relations Officer Michelle Anderson, and Director of Research and Evaluation Dr. Laura Davidson. Thank you and welcome.
Superintendent McMaster, members of the board, Don Gotti, Deputy Superintendent. Proud to have alongside me Dr. Laura Davidson, our Director of Research and Evaluation, and Michelle Anderson, our Chief Communications and Public Relations Officer. Today we're going to speak to you a little bit about our refreshing our strategic plan, which will cover for the 2027 to 2030 school years. The purpose of today's presentation is not to adopt a new strategic plan, but to approve the process that we're going to use to refresh it. The process is designed to be community informed, transparent, data driven, and aligned with board priorities. Over the next several months, we will gather feedback, review current results, revise goals and measures, and return to the board with recommendations. What's the purpose of our strategic plan? Strategic plan creates a shared vision where we're going as a district. It aligns decision-making across schools, departments, and leadership teams. It helps ensure that resources are directed toward priorities that improve student outcomes. Board Policy 0200 establishes the expectation that WCSD operates through a strategic planning process. Our refresh plan commitment. Again, we develop the plan. Developing the plan is just as important as the plan itself. We are committed to a process that is community built and representative of diverse perspectives. We want the plan to be aspirational, but also practical and achievable. Transparency is a major component of this refresh effort. The board and community will receive regular updates. While strategic plans should provide consistency, they must also remain relevant and responsive to changing conditions. And these 4 commitments will guide every phase of the refresh process. So our refresh timeline at a quick glance. This is a deliberate 8-step process, which will span from August of 26 through March of 27. The process begins with a broad community input through a district-wide survey. We then move into a listen and learn tour to better understand community perspectives. On September 22nd, the board will receive a comprehensive review of progress on the strategic plan. Goal teams will use survey results, community feedback, and data trends to revise the strategic plan. A public-facing dashboard will be developed to support transparency and ongoing monitoring. The board will review recommended revisions in January. The community will have an opportunity to respond to the refresh draft before adoption, and the final adoption is targeted for March 9th of 2027. So on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Chief Anderson.
I have to do 2 things at once. Good afternoon, trustees again. As you all know, the power of a good strategic plan is when it represents all groups. The process is designed to help us best understand not just what is working, what is not, what goals to change and how, but also to hear in the language of our stakeholders. The survey is designed to listen before we revise. We are intentionally beginning with open-ended questions. We want examples of when Washoe County School District has been at its best, because those stories can illuminate strengths we should preserve and expand. And finally, we ask stakeholders to reflect directly on current strategic plan goals and suggest revisions. The feedback will help us create a strategic plan that is accessible, understandable, and reflective of our community voice. The survey would open up for 2 weeks, starting this Friday, August the 17th, and would remain open through Friday, September 4th. And as Mr. Angotti mentioned, we would be producing, and this is an example, so obviously that's not real data, but like a mock-up of it. Transparency begins with sharing what we hear. Again, mock-up of how survey results may be presented. The goal is to make the community input visible and accessible. Rather than simply collecting feedback, we want stakeholders to see that their voices were heard. Results would be summarized into themes that can inform future revisions. We look for both quantitative and qualitative insights. I do want to say this would not be live data. Specifically, we don't want to be skewing where people are saying, well, my input was lagging on it, and that let's come in and feed it with a bunch more results. So this would be after the survey results had closed. So I just want to make note of that, because it seems like it would be great if it was live, but it actually can do the exact opposite and not give us clean data. And so I know the listening learning tour. There's several different components of it. So the survey identifies the theme, but the tour helps us understand at a deeper level. Surveys provide breadth, while conversations provide that depth. We plan to engage multiple stakeholder groups, including employees, families, our employee associations, students, administrators, and community partners. I'm going to give her a nice little compliment here, which I know will make her feel uncomfortable. But as she begins her new role as Superintendent McMaster is meeting with staff and community members, listening and learning as part of her entry plan. Instead of having these competing conversations and duplication of effort, she has wisely suggested focusing her listening sessions around the strategic plan. And that way she gets some input as she's out and about, which gives us just another layer. And then we also are going to have listening sessions throughout the trustee districts to ensure geographical representation and community representation is included. You as trustees, as always, play an important role in helping to promote and ensure community voices are represented, no different than you guys do all the time. And these listening and learning sessions would take place in September and October. We also know that not everybody has the ability to attend in person, and that is important to us because we want to make sure that we're hearing from everybody. So we will have a recorded virtual opportunity as well, so that they could watch at their convenience and learn about it and provide their input. Gathering that in-depth understanding. All discussions would be grounded in evidence and structured for consistency. Participants would receive summaries of survey results and district data trends before discussions would begin. This creates a common understanding and encourages informed conversations. Consistent discussions prompts will be used across all sessions. While conversations may vary naturally, the themes gathered would be able to be comparable. Our teams from our communications office and our research office will develop discussions so recommendations are based on stakeholder perspectives rather than on anecdotal impressions. These themes will directly inform proposed revisions to goals and action steps. And I'll now turn it over to Dr. Davidson.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So that takes us to phase 3. This is the next time that you're going to see this group before you. That will be on September 22nd. So normally in September, this is when we come to you and present the results from all of the data that we've been getting all summer. So Smarter Balancer results, ACT, graduation, kind of all those key metrics that are associated with the strategic plan. But because we're nearing the end of this strategic plan that you've been looking at for the past 3.5 years, we're going to do something a little different. So on September 22nd, we're actually going to do a high-level overview of our entire strategic plan so that you can see kind of slide by slide how we've done meeting the objectives that we set for ourselves 3.5 years ago. So you'll see kind of one slide on all of our actions related to goal 1 and know, okay, so we met our action step goals here, but not here. That may inform where we go with the next strategic plan cycle. And you're going to get all of that data for the last 3.5 years all together. So that data probably will call to all of us a direction of, ooh, we really need to do some work in this particular area, or this particular area, we've been doing great work, let's just continue that, but it doesn't maybe need to rise to the surface of a strategic plan goal. So at that point, you're going to get just kind of a high-level overview of everything, including the community survey results, so that you'll have that needs assessment to inform the next direction and revision cycle. We're calling this a refresh, and that's very intentional because we have a lot of good bones in our strategic plan, and I think many of these goals we'll see continued, but it may just be an update here or there, so I can kind of foreshadow where I anticipate there being changes and where I don't think there will be tons of changes. But at that point, that's when a lot of our data is going to point us in a particular direction for revisions for the next cycle. One of the things that we're most excited about in this next phase of our strategic plan is advancement through technology. So right now, if you want to know how our strategic plan has been going, you have to sift through a lot of board documents to find 5 presentations a year and figure out, well, did they meet their action step progress? How are their targets going, et cetera. So we know that we can have some innovation in this area through a new website. It's going to be kind of a master strategic plan website where anyone can go, one, to see the community survey results, but more importantly, to see all the action steps and goals and the key metrics associated with it in one place so they don't have to sift through board docs any longer to find out how we're doing on our strategic plan. So we're very excited about this. On September 22nd, we'll bring you, this is just a mock-up of what we think it could look like, but on the 22nd, you'll actually see what it looks like with our last strategic plan, and then we'll update it again once we refresh the language for the new strategic plan. So all of that, listen and learn tour, the survey, all of the data. Then we get to October through December, and that's kind of the boots on the ground revision process. So at that point, we're going to convene, maybe if we have 4 goals, 4 groups. If we have 5 goals, 5 groups. If we have 6 goals, 6 groups. But the point is that these goal groups are going to be very intentionally selected to represent all types of stakeholder viewpoints, those who are most directly impacted by the work, like our students, as well as the folks who are making the decisions about budget allocations and making sure that the work actually happens. So this has a very unfortunate acronym. We'll come up with a better one later. They are the Strategic Plan Oversight Groups, the SPOGs. Does not inspire a lot of anything right now, but we'll get better at that. So we're going to convene these 4 to 6 groups, and it's going to be comprised of a chief, a department lead, 3 to 4 staff, and we're going to work really intentionally with our associations to help solicit nominations for teachers, principals, and central office staff to sit on these so that we can represent the school level realities that we know this work impacts. Students, we've already worked with student voice. I have a strong feeling of someone who will probably sit on at least one of those goal groups, but each of our goal groups should have a student on it because those are the folks that we represent, and they need to have a seat at the table, and then someone from our team, the research staff. And our team would be there to help do literature reviews of research to make sure that when we're selecting action steps that there's strong evidence behind it, but also helping with the design of some implementation measures. So when we come before you, we tell you in advance, by year 1, we want this accomplished, and here's how you'll know that we've accomplished it, as well as student outcome metrics. So did we improve our Smarter Balanced reading scores? Did we reduce chronic absenteeism, whatever those may be? So these are the folks who are really going to be spending a lot of time together between October and December to do that revision process. Phase 5 is when we add the new language into our dashboard, so you'll get to see that. And then January 26th is a big day. It's the day where we present these draft revision recommendations to you. Each of those SPOGs will come to you and explain the reasoning for why they've made the revisions that they have and some of the rationale behind it, using all the evidence that we've collected from the fall to kind of back up why they made that choice. Just to foreshadow what I think will happen, when we look at strategic plans nationally, and we pulled a list of about 300 of them from all kinds of different districts, you don't see anything too wild and out of the box. You see, hopefully, an academic excellence or achievement goal somewhere in a strategic plan. You see an educator workforce goal. You see engagement goal. You see something about life after high school, well-being, mental health. I mean, they fall in these pretty traditional buckets. And as I've said, we have really strong bones in our current strategic plan, so I don't anticipate that we're going to have 5 to 6 brand new goals that you were not expecting. They'll likely look somewhat like the ones that we have now. Perhaps there will be consolidation, but it should really reflect anything that we gather in this fall process. Action steps very well could change. These are the actual kind of activities happening that we're dedicating funding to and resources to make sure that the goal actually happens. Definitely some of those action steps will change and some may not. Implementation measures definitely all have to change because they're kind of our promise to you each year. This is how you'll know that we are on track with this action step, or if we're a little bit behind, or if we need to sunset an action step, that those should be set from the outset of this new strategic plan, so those will all be different. Student outcome metrics will look somewhat like you've seen before. We don't have a ton of new data sources at our disposal, and we have these kind of data North Stars that we like to include in most of these things. So that's kind of where I anticipate things going. On January 26th, you'll have a chance to give those groups feedback. You can send them back to do some revisions. Again, this strategic plan is yours. It's one of the major efforts that a board of trustees does is adopt a strategic plan and identify what you'd like to see in there based on what constituents are telling us through this process. So January 26th, you're welcome to send those goals back for a little bit of more revision or refinement before you hopefully finally adopt it on March 9th, which is kind of the home stretch here. So from January to March 9th, we put out a second community survey, and that's really more just a notification to our community of, hey, we took all your feedback, we spent a lot of time really thinking about what that should look like, and here's what we came up with. Let us know if there's anything that we were way off on or that we need to consider. And then when we come back to you on March 9th of 2027, we'll have a fully branded strategic plan, as well as a plan for how we're going to report back to you over the course of the next 3 years for our next strategic plan. Very exciting, I know. I love a strategic plan. I've been around 15 years and I've seen a lot of them, but I always think there's a lot of hopeful space in a new strategic plan. It inspires a lot of action and excitement and provides a clear North Star of where we're going, and I think everyone always appreciates kind of that North Star and clarity in our work. So I love a strategic plan, and I'm very excited about all the many steps that we have between now and March 9th, when we hopefully have our 3-year strategic plan, which is very exciting work and possibly, can outlive us all, right? And it's a long time. There's a lot that can happen between those 3 years. All right, so with that, I'm happy to share with you the recommendation, but the recommendation is essentially just to approve the process so that we can move forward with it. It's a tight timeline. The point of having the March 9th deadline is so that you can have a strategic plan in advance of budget adoption. If we're doing our jobs right, we need to have the strategic plan in place before you allocate resources to that strategic plan. So that's why it's a bit of a condensed timeline, but it's really important that we get it to you before that budget cycle. And with that, I'm happy to take any additional questions about the process we've laid out.
All right, thank you very much. So before we go to public comment, I will give trustees an opportunity for any clarifying questions. Then we'll do public comment and have discussion after.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. And so +1 to that, that is also exactly why we traditionally set the superintendent's goals in February, because it's not fair for the board to give a superintendent goals and then not fund through the budgetary process to make any of those things happen. So I like that. Okay, clarifying questions. Do we still have the superintendent's parent committee on various things? There were like 2 parent committees. Is that still something we do? Do we not? It's okay if we don't. Okay, I'm getting a no. Okay, that was my first question. And then another question is this something that before it comes in January, is this something we could also do small group meetings on potentially as well as the themes are coming together on this? In this timeline, as the themes start coming together, but before it comes back to the board, is this something that we could do small group meetings on as well along the way, like we do with some of our unique topics that are larger or more nuanced?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that we're going to have that after the surveys and after the listening. We're going to have that platform where it's going to be transparent. So you're going to have the information at that point in time. And when's the touch points with the board? I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember when we have the touch points.
Thanks, Laura Davidson for the record. So there's quite a few, but the next one is September 22nd. That's when you'll see a review of the community survey results and all of the data. So that would be the first time that we come back to you, and then January 26th is kind of when you would see the revisions. But again, this is your process to adopt. So if you have another touch point that you may want to see, that is something that we're certainly open to.
And I do want to include that we would be including updates in the superintendent highlights so that you could be following that monthly with where we're at, what's going on with that, because I think keeping you guys in the loop is extremely important on this.
I appreciate that. When we get to the other side of public comment, I may advocate, because on topics that are more nuanced or larger, it is commonplace to do small group meetings. So I think that could be a beneficial step here. But I'll advocate more for that on the other side of public comment. My other question, so overall, I really like this. Okay, I think it's just like we saw with the legislative platform. I think this is super strong. I like what you have here. My next question, though, is really tapping into everyone in our district. I think the SPOGs are a great idea. I'm not opposed to that. But when I think of the strategic plan, and by the way, I am that person. This is my dog-eared copy of it. I take this everywhere. I meet with constituents with it. It is in my bag, which is why I pulled it out. I'm a super user of this strategic plan, as I'm sure we all are. But something I've heard quite a bit is we don't really have a mechanism to get everybody's feedback within our district, which is why I've been an advocate for an all-staff climate and culture survey. And I think that's a really important data point we would need here, because we can't really determine what goals we would have as an organization in service to our team members if we don't have that information. I know we have a staff climate and culture survey for individual school sites that is very unique in its use. It's great for its use, but we don't have something for everybody in our district. So my question is are we going to have an all-staff culture and climate survey? And if so, would that information come out to allow time for that feedback to be built into potential evolutions to the strategic plan?
Thanks, Laura Davidson for the record. So we are going to add, I think there's 14 new questions being added to the staff climate survey around district culture. So those are questions like, how is the communication from the top? Is it clear what the priorities for my school should be? Is it obvious that Washoe County School District is headed in the right direction? Is this a place that I'm proud to work? So we have developed about 14 questions to add to our staff climate survey. So certainly we'll have that data available probably in January that could inform some of this. And then I'll just note that the community survey that we're launching probably this week is going to go to everybody. It's going to go to community members, staff, students, families, and there will be an opportunity for folks to determine whether they like the strategic plan goals that we have now, and if there's an opportunity to add a goal, then they're able to do that and kind of justify why they would want that. And then there's also going to be a place where they can identify what the largest needs are in the district in order to kind of help those rise to the top in terms of selecting revisions.
That is wonderful news. And the second part of that is everybody in the district needs this. School police needs to have their say. Finance does not work at a school site. So what is the second part of that? So I love if we're going to have these questions, and hopefully we're developing them with our partners, our stakeholders in the district. And are these 14 questions going to go out to everyone? Because an accountant in our district, a police officer, a bus driver, somebody that works in nutrition services at the main commissary, I believe, myself individually, our whole board would benefit from knowing how they feel about this. And your strategic plan recommendations will be stronger if we give all of our staff members an opportunity to be heard rather than just site-based staff. So is there a thought to expand those 14 questions to everyone?
For the record, Laura Davidson. So we have not previously done a central office survey, and part of that is the reasoning is just the level of reporting that it would need. So we just haven't figured that component out yet. But say, for example, is it the chief who receives those results? Is it the director who receives that results? If some of the directors oversee, 3 people, then it's obviously identifiable. If some of their staff members are indicating that the climate in that office is not healthy or is healthy. So I think we would need to think through that a little bit, as well as we'd need to think through some survey burden too. So we're going to launch 2 community surveys as a part of this process, in addition to a staff climate survey from October to December. So we'd need to think about how we're making sure that we're not overburdening our system with too many surveys at the same time. But I think that's something that we could maybe consider and talk through.
I really appreciate that. And survey fatigue is a very real thing. Community surveys are fundamentally different than staff, and we don't know until we do it, but I feel very confident that a great way to show our staff that we really do care about every single one of their voices is through having a mechanism that's custom developed for them. So those are all very real things. But going back to the strategic plan, it's, of course, the superintendent and the teams would use that data however they see fit, but specifically for this agenda item within the scope of this action, I believe that information from all of our staff members, not some, would be incredibly valuable to our superintendent and to all of the chiefs. And I feel very confident that what you come back to this board with in January and the community would be even stronger if you had answers from everyone on this. So not just a community survey that they can fill out, but those same 14 questions to everyone. Because again, an accountant, a school police officer, a project manager in facilities, all of their voices are important. And I feel really confident that what you bring back to us would be even stronger, knowing that you've got that full visibility from them.
All right, thank you, Trustee Smith. I just want to make sure we stay on track with the strategic plan and we're not going too much into specifics on what kind of survey, what have you. I want to stay on topic overall. Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to note we definitely hear you, and then I just wanted to elevate this because we kind of focused on the listening and learning sessions, but I do want to point out, because I think we all agree that it needs to be listening and learning from various groups. So I just thought this was a good one to call back. School-based staff, families, associations, directors in central office, community partners, and students. That is, I will tell you from an engagement standpoint, that is extremely important to me. And so as we're gathering feedback, that's where we would gather them from, in addition to being out in the community and in addition to everybody receiving that the survey for the strategic plan, that is something that's a priority.
I have two questions. Thank you, Vice President Woodley. So for the trustee town hall, I guess I just want to throw this idea out there. I know that we have a limited time and there's only so many of you and so many of us, but our districts are really large and represent several communities within one. I can say that, for example, both Trustee Nicolette and I represent Incline, and Incline is a very different community than the South Meadows area. And so I just want to put it out there that I want to make sure that we're also attempting to get as much feedback as we can from the regionality within our districts. Hidden Valley is different than Galena, right? And I'm just naming mine, and I can say I'm sure you all could easily name multiple communities within your district. So I know it would be impossible. It's not like we could each do 5 town halls. I'm not suggesting that. None of us want to put that much on that's a lot on the district, and it's a lot on us and our families, but I just want to make sure that we're being really thoughtful of how we communicate with those, I guess, essentially the high school feeders in those different areas. And then my next one is for the SPOGs, which, I mean, at this point, I think we're just gonna they have to be SPOGs just for fun. When it comes to the educators, on that, including the administrators, but specifically the teachers, I just want to make sure that in those groupings that we're really, really thoughtful about the grade level groupings of the teachers. You know, what a high school math teacher experiences is very different than what a first grade teacher experiences, and how what their goals should be. And so, in the secondary, it should also be a really wide range of our content areas. We spend a lot of time on ELA and math, and this will not be the first time that I mention that there are other subject areas. I know you're all really used to me talking about all the other subject areas, including social studies, yes. But I want to make sure that those other subject areas have an opportunity to weigh in, because while we're measured at the state level on our ELA and math scores, every single teacher in every single building has a part in making sure that those scores are what they are. Because all of us teach literacy, all of us teach mathematics, we all teach all those things because we're supporting that happening. So I just want to make sure that when we make those SPOG groups, that there's a really wide range of educators. And then when it comes to an administrator on those, a wide range of administrators too. You know, we've got Marvin Piccolo, which is a really special school and deserves to have an opportunity to have a voice at the table. So, we've heard a lot from our principals who have pre-K programs. They bring a really different perspective. So I just want to make sure that we're really thoughtful about how we put those together, and it would be impossible to have someone from every grade level on those teams. I get that, but someone who can really speak from those. So thank you.
Real quick, Vice President, thank you. I'm going to +1 because I actually asked for 2. That aligned with both of my high school feeders, because I really was like, hey, can I have 2? Because there are real distinct areas there. So that's.
All right, now that we've had the clarifying questions, do we have any public comment, JJ?
I have no cards for this item.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll bring it back for discussion. Does anyone else have anything that they'd like to share? I'll tell you, this is great. This is awesome. I mean, I really, really like that. And when you stated earlier about going through board meetings and I've done that. I would Google to see when the media actually covered our strategic plan updates, and then I would go in there on those specific dates and look for the board agenda in the packet. So I'm glad that we have one area that we can just go to, one website. So thank you for that, and I do appreciate all these touches that we're having here, and it's already coming back to us next month. So this is good. We're getting touches on it on multiple opportunities. So I appreciate that. Thank you. So with that, I'm gonna. Oh yes, Milo, please. Thank you.
Hello, Milo, student representative for the record. Just want to say, the vice president's saying this is great. I really love this, and I love the emphasis on students. I love being part of a SWAG. I'm not sure why everyone's laughing at it. I tried looking it up right now, and I don't know what it means. I don't know if it's like an older people thing. I'm not sure. But no, I really love seeing the students and student voice are at the forefront of all this. I know that neglecting it can lead to issues that we had earlier in the year, like with the FMP and the AFMP, and that kind of whole entanglement. But it's nice that we're kind of avoiding a situation like that with this. I'm excited to see the presentation on September 22nd. I think my favorite class was AP Statistics. I took in high school, or I took a couple years ago, and so it's cool, seeing it all on a website, like all the statistics that we're gonna get from these types of surveys. So that's cool, and I think I like what Trustee Smith is saying about having all these questions available to every single person in the district. It kind of makes me think that maybe an easier way could just be like one big survey, and that would be send it to everyone, via email, everyone associated with the district, everyone with a Washoe County School District email, and just one big survey, and everyone gets the same thing. That could be, good way to do it too. I don't know, but yeah, really great work. I'm really happy with this. So it's nice to see student voice really at the front of it. It's cool.
Thank you, Vice President Mayberry. Got the Vice President right part, but the robot kicked in for the second half of it, Vice President Woodley. And thank you, Milo. That's without even knowing, that is actually what my original advocacy was. So to build on to Milo's, will there be an adjustment to the student climate surveys, and will that data come back in time for whatever you create for January?
I don't anticipate a change to the student climate survey. The student climate survey is quite lengthy already, and the majority of those items come to us from the state, so they're required. About 50 of the questions come from Nevada Department of Education. I hesitate to expand it more than we are, especially because we're considering adding some additional questions around iReady and some other topics and screen time, those types of really hot topics right now. So I don't want to overburden our students right now with it, additional questions, but certainly we would have the student climate survey results in time for the January presentation, and then part of our deep dive at the September presentation, some of the metrics we currently use for the existing strategic plan are from the student climate survey, so we do a recap of how our students are feeling in our buildings up to this point before we launch the new survey this year.
That's perfect. That's the much more important part, was will you have the student climate survey data in time for when you develop something to come back to us. So that was the more important of the two. So I think that that is great. I have a question on the motion, because overall I think that this plan is great. So this is a question for the superintendent. When I look at the motion in front, it approves the process as it is right now. How might you take in the feedback from today's meeting? And because the motion is just to approve exactly what you have, but a few points have been made during the discussion that may catalyze additional thought. How does the motion work with also you and the team saying, that was a really good point? So I'm trying to suss out, can you integrate feedback with this motion? Where would you be on this?
Sure, I appreciate the question. So I think that, sticking with the strategic plan and thinking about a process for getting feedback on the goals and action steps of the strategic plan, I think this does a very good job of doing that. The other things that have been mentioned, like culture and the culture survey and some of the other feedback, I want to remind the board that as your new superintendent, I have yet to present my entry plan. So there will be aspects maybe outside of a strategic plan refresh. Now, the refresh of this strategic plan will be an essential part of my entry plan, but that's not just my entry plan. So we can discuss more of that in the coming months as part of the entry plan. That's where I see most of this feedback fitting in.
That's great. I appreciate that because I do think that the motion is good and I think the plan is really good. And I'm hoping that some of the feedback around asking, everyone for things could still be considered with it. But you answered my question, so thank you.
Sure, I can do that. All right. I move that the Board of Trustees approves the process for collecting feedback and revising the strategic plan during the 2026-27 school year in preparation for adopting a new strategic plan for 2027 to 2030. Whoa, that's weird to say, sorry.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Dr. Nicolette. We have a motion from Clerk Hall and a second from Dr. Nicolette. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, moving on the agenda. Next item we have up is Section 4, Reports. No discussion among the Board of Trustees will occur under these items. 4.01, Student Representatives Report. Milo, do you have anything to share?
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, good afternoon. Almost good evening, sort of, maybe. Thank you all for having me. It's really an honor to be an honorary trustee on this board, and I appreciate you all, taking the time to really care for student opinion and student voice, and really putting us first in all of your guys' decisions. Just a few things. I saw a couple weeks ago that there was a decision made on contingency days, which was, I think, received really well by students. I know there's been a lot of confusion the past couple of years about, when does school end, and when does that affect, how does that affect graduations and things of that nature. So I think coming to a decisive, end date was really well received on social media and things, and also in just word of mouth. I'd like to thank you all for your reaction to the wildfires up in the North Valley's Cold Springs area. I think delaying school was a good decision because there's families that are dealing with what seemed like more important issues in school at the moment. So I think that was a really good reaction. Thank you. I'd like to invite all of you to the Student Advisory Council kickoff on September 16th at the National Automobile Museum, put together by the Washoe County School District Student Advisory Council group. We're gonna identify our quarterly goals there. So instead of we're changing it up this year. Instead of having a number of goals at the start of the year and working through them throughout the entire school year, we're gonna focus on one goal at each quarter to try and keep things fresh and keep hopefully a lot more students engaged and keep the retention going. Personally, I have goals of improving our social media outreach. We have an account under the name like Washoe County School District Student Voice, which is a small account. There's not too much engagement, and the last time that something was posted on it was 2024. So I'm hoping to revamp that with my friend Kaylee, also the co-rep. So hopefully there'll be more students in this room giving public comment, getting educated about how to give public comment, how to vote and engage in elections and things like civilly after high school or after education. I just want to say thank you again. That's basically it. I don't have much to report because I started school yesterday and I need to be with the people to speak for the people. So once I'm more with the people, there'll be more to share. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Milo. All right, 4.02, board reports. Each trustee shall have 3 minutes to provide the community with update on their activities. We will start right next door to Milo. Trustee Smith.
All right, before I start my 3 minutes, can I get the picture up? All right, so summer was amazing. This picture right here is from the Communities in Schools Fill the Bus event, and had the opportunity, if we can switch over to the second photo, for the grand opening of Vaughn, and really just a reminder to our community about how important our community and schools partners are, and also our family resource centers. So just as a reminder, everyone can donate towards important things that our kids need. And I'm incredibly proud to see this day here with Principal Mandy Lobkowitz at the new Vaughn, an absolute triumph of what this team is capable of when we band together to do good things for educators and kids. I also spent a lot of time with the community over the summer, a lot of conversations, which is amazing. I'm going to borrow that. You have to be with the people to be able to speak for the people. And that was really amazing this summer. I'm going to use the rest of my time to tell you all a true story about something that happened last week. I was out for an evening walk, rocking out to my songs, walking through my neighborhood as the sun set, and part of our street goes up against, part of the back of my neighborhood goes up against BLM land. So I look up, and there's this woman walking down a very steep hill directly towards me, and this does not happen too often, and she needed some help. And while we were calling on some community supports to provide her that help, we sat on the curb of the street as it got dark, and she was telling me about her life. And she had shared she had 4 kids. The younger 2 are 20 and 18. And when I explained to her what I did, she was like, you know what? The school district helped feed my kids, helped feed my family, gave them clothes, got them connected to mental health supports. And her kids are doing great, her 18-year-old and her 20-year-old. And she was like, this is so amazing. Like, the school district, those children are all adults now, so she doesn't get those supports personally. But she was like, it is amazing. The school district has done so much, and my kids are thriving because of it. Then it gets even crazier, but in a good way. She's like, you know what? I know someone that I think would be a great employee of the district. And I was like, well, that's great. Let's do some recruitment while we're at it. So I wrote down my district email in her little prayer book she had, which I could tell was a precious thing. And sure enough, the person she knew did indeed reach out to me, and has been. Now I've got this person connected to our job site, and he is applying for multiple jobs, and he hopes to be a future district employee. And so she told me, like, you're an angel. And I was like, no, I think you were here for me. And anyways, I wanted to tell that story because the district is everywhere. Our jobs are so important. And in exchange like that really grounds me in the work that we do. Thank you.
Trustee Dr. Nicolette, please.
That was lovely. I'm going to have to start walking more because that's beautiful. This picture is my grandson, my oldest grandson, Henry. And it's 2016 when I was appointed to District G. And his mother, Amanda, my daughter-in-law, my son, Tyson, who's the U.S. Marine, they were all stationed in Bangladesh, and the families got sent home just because it was really treacherous. And so Tyson stayed at the embassy, did his job, and the family came to Reno. And I had the pleasure of being with my grandson, oldest grandson, who is now 17, a junior in high school and in JROTC, to accompany him to his first day of school at Hunter Lake. And the reason I show you this is because some things are so beautiful, and the first day of school is one of them. And I had the opportunity to attend all of the 5 first day of schools yesterday, and it just brought back some wonderful memories of the teachers' excitement, the families' excitement, the students' excitement, and then also tears and worry. And that's just the adults. And it just, I happened upon this picture and I said, I just really have to share it. And then kind of the funny thing about it is, I'm a fashion diva, you'll know after I tell you this. I wore the same outfit yesterday on the 5 visits as I had on that day. Oh, goodness. I take good care of my clothes. So I want to thank our principals then and through the years and yesterday for their passion, their dedication, their excitement, their 24/7, 365 commitment to students, their employees, our families, and our community. And it was just a wonderful gift to be able to do that. I went to the ribbon cuttings. I'm sure others will talk about that for Stead and Vaughn. The Duncan Dolphins did a fabulous back-to-school resource fair. That was fun. I participated in the Nevada Association of School Board Executive Committee meeting. We are already talking about the convention in December of 2027. You got to get these places, early so you can get the good prices. I can't tell you where yet, but it's going to be great in Reno. Attended the board retreat training. It's overwhelming sitting with your colleagues and really assimilating all of it. And then attended the summer graduation, 53 graduates and 10 Washoe County School District schools. Got to say once again, I am truly blessed.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'll go ahead. I don't have much. But first, I want to wish our president, Adam Mayberry, a full recovery. He's not here today because he had a medical procedure, so I haven't heard anything negative, so I'm hoping no news is good news. And everything went well. Our wishes and prayers are with him. Over the summer, we had some changes at the NIAA. I'm currently I was selected as the board president, and we've had several special meetings in the last 2 months. Unfortunately, the executive director is leaving or has left by now, and we are in the process of hiring a new executive director. We're doing a national search. We have an interim right now, so that's working out well. I was not aware that Washoe County School District, our HR department actually helps them with their HR needs. So that was good to learn. So I appreciate that. That's really awesome to know that we're, once again, our community partners. I do want to give a special shout out and thanks to all the teachers and principals that I saw the excitement where there was social media, interviews, on TV, on the news, all the excitement from the teachers and the principals getting ready for the first day of school, like a month in advance, getting back and getting in their classrooms and doing all these great things. And it was just so nice to see their dedication and how hard they work to provide services to our families. So thank you very much. And then lastly, I just want to share my appreciation for all the work that's been done out there, including from Washoe County School Districts as it relates to the fires. This community has pulled in together multiple different agencies. Even Milo's brother, I shared something on social media that he put out, Eddie Gomez, some information to help residents in the North Valleys. So I'm glad to know that and to be a part of a community that works together, pulls our resources together to help. So my prayers are with all the families out there and hoping that we can get this through quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's been a busy couple of weeks. I had to go back through all my my photos and my calendar, but I got to attend the last of the 3 new teacher days, and wow, what an incredible investment we made in all of our first and second year teachers. It was really cool. You can see PBS there, but also the next table over was the library, and at one point they had like 40 teachers in line to get library cards. It was so cool, but they had a great luncheon that day, and it was just really amazing to see all of the new teachers getting to have that time for planning, and they were ready to roll. So I really appreciate our district's investment in making that day happen. Can you go to the next one? And then we were back at hers the following day for the administrators back to school day, and Superintendent McMaster, I just want to say, I just want you to know, I really appreciate that you spent your time with them, inspiring them and leading with hope. And not, as you all know, I'm not a big test score person, and you didn't even talk about test scores. And that might seem counterintuitive for a lot of people, but I really appreciated that you honored their work by reminding us what we're here for, and it's for our kids. So thank you for doing that. Sorry, that was. And then I was so cool to be at the STED groundbreaking. What a cool thing. I've seen so many iterations of this same building, and it was really cool to see how we just continue to improve that building plan, starting with Polikitis when we opened that school. So that was pretty cool to see that. And then let's see, we had our trustee retreat, and Dr. Nicolette already shared that, but it was really great to just get to know each other in a different way and to focus on our why. That actually inspired me. Many of you know I'm the executive director of a nonprofit, and I spent some time over the weekend redoing some wording of some grants because of that. So thank you for that. And then finally, I spent the first day of school at AACT in Hidden Valley. AACT, my son is actually a sophomore there, and so I got to be the official door opener yesterday for all 600 kids walking in, and I said good morning to every single one of them. And then they had a welcome back assembly. This was the teachers absolutely killing it in the game. They beat the sophomores, juniors, freshmen, and seniors in the game. Just saying. And then I spent some time at Hidden Valley, which I already mentioned, but shout out to my very, very dear friend, Nicole, who is a kindergarten teacher there. She moved from Dodson after 20 years at Dodson, moved to Hidden Valley, and set up a beautiful classroom and is teaching 3 students in our deaf and hard of hearing program for the first time. So really incredible. So you can see her translator there as they were reading a story. So nice job.
Well, I've definitely been out of the loop. I'm looking at all of these pictures, and I know you've heard of FOMO, fear of missing out. Well, I'm having ROMO, regret of missing out, because I was on a beautiful, wonderful trip with my husband to Spain, Italy, France, which was wonderful, very wonderful, but being back here and seeing these pictures reminds me of what's important. And just like Milo said, it's important to be around the people. And it's around the people that you love and that you care so much for. So I'm super happy to be back, and I'm ready to start doing that work, important work again, being around our people. I have to say the retreat was amazing. I learned some very important, things that I am taking to be important that I can utilize in how I do the work as a trustee and the work with colleagues. And it was amazing. And I wish I had thought to take a screenshot or a picture to send to JJ of my sports card, of my trading card, because I only want that picture utilized from here on out with everything. I seriously look like I was 25 years old. So I'm going to get that to you. So anything that we need a picture for, I want my trading card used. I am in love with that trading card. I'm serious. I'm like, good Lord, I want to know how you made it so that you look so young. But it was a growth experience for me. It really was. And JJ asked me what I was taking away from the retreat, and I said hope. I said hope, because I think the more time we can learn about each other and share things, that brings hope. That brings hope. And lastly, my prayers and my heart is going out for the families that are affected with this fire. And I hope everyone would keep my youngest son in their prayers. He's a Reno firefighter. And I have seen some of the videos that he's taken and that he has sent his dad and I. And I think he's trying to give me a heart attack. But it is gut-wrenching. It is absolutely gut-wrenching what our first responders and these families that are affected are facing. And so I am praying for all of them, for us as a community, that we get through this. And I know we will, but it is scary times. Thank you.
Alrighty. First of all, Milo, thank you. Thank you for your breath of fresh air. Thank you for your voice. I'm looking forward to discussions and hearing what you and your partner have to say. I'm sure the colleagues are thinking the same thing. When you spoke up right away, I'm like, my man. So I appreciate that and being with the people. So with that, I had the opportunity to do some things this summer, mainly being grandpa all summer. So man, that's a different duty when you're my age, but doing it by yourself. But bottom line up front, going back to the ribbon cutting, it was good to see the Native American students there and the WCSD staff and everyone supporting, keeping our heritage and everything alive. You know, it's an ongoing battle from way back when. It'll continue for the generations yet to come. So that is it was very inspiring, and I like that little grass dancer that was out there kicking it, just getting out there to be in front of people was a big win. Also attended the summer graduation with some of you there, but the big shout out goes to those students that are up on top that were just really cheering on their friends. Those guys were the best. They were the ones that were just hooting and hurrahing for their partner, their friend that was receiving that their diploma. You should have saw that, man. They were up there. They were great. I really enjoyed those guys. I was actually wanting to join in the stands. But anyway, going on to the other was the board retreat that we had. Again, thank you, Tiffany, for all that, and the staff and all the hard work that went into that, making it happen for us. I think we had a lot of good takeaways there. Still looking forward to those norms that we finalize as a group and help remind us what's important to us, that we refer to them as we go along. And the big piece for me was just that we're actively practicing those things in everything we do every day, so it just comes easy. The other was just to sum things up here, like a lot of you with the fires. Being a former first responder, we owe a profound debt and gratitude to our frontline responders and the regional fire crews, and we honor the Reno Sparks Extended Colony and their leadership because they're out there getting close to evacuation, having their emergency management in place, and attending all the meetings and making those decisive decisions out there. And so it was good to see all of that there, and all the nonprofit groups that are involved come into play with all of this here. So if you ever had an opportunity to sit in on an actual crisis situation and you see how the state functions with everything that's involved, there's so many different entities, there's so many different partners, there's so many communication things that go on in this. So again, kudos to all the first responders. This is not our first fire, so we're doing pretty good. So I'll conclude with that. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Trustee Phoenix. So moving on to item 4.03, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Vice President Woodley. As we embark on this first week of school, I just want to start by acknowledging the many students who have been unable to start classes so far. The fires in our northern Nevada, Reno Sparks region have unfortunately put a slight delay on the beginning of the school year for some of our students. And my heart goes out to everyone who's either been directly or indirectly impacted, and acknowledge the impact that has on our entire community, but especially the individuals. I want to thank the students and the family and staff who've been patient and persevered through these challenging times as we continue to make the best decisions possible for our community, but most importantly, just for keeping our kids safe. On behalf of the Washoe County School District, I just want to thank the brave first responders who are working around the clock to protect our community. And when it's safe to do so, we certainly look forward to welcoming our students back into the Washoe County School District to start their year off. As many of you have heard me say many times, I think the future of our district is going to be built on a theme of collaborate, elevate, and innovate. Those aren't just words for me, they're actions that demand attention. And I think about those deeply and they inspire me every single day. So moving forward in the superintendent reports that I'll be providing to the board, I'll be working to look for great moments across our district, whether it's at a school, central office, or just throughout the community with our employees, staff, families, and partners. Today, I just want to take a quick moment to recognize Milo, and I know Kaylee couldn't be with us today, but having student voice on our Board of Trustees is really, really special and means a lot to me. Since my time in the classroom, I've always valued student voice, and to know that as I enter this role of superintendent, I'm up here with the reason that we do this work. So welcome to the team. Thank you for engaging today. It was wonderful to get your perspective on things. Don't ever forget to do that, because we're here for you. So thank you for representing all of the students in the Washoe County School District. We appreciate you. I have actually had the pleasure of seeing Milo present. He was at the teacher orientation that happened, as well as speaking to the administrators when we welcomed him back. And my goodness, what an incredible leader you already are with your demeanor, your calm demeanor. You speak with confidence and clarity, and he was teaching new teachers how to value student voice. So you're already a teacher of teachers. So nicely done, nicely done. Yes, absolutely. During my school visits this year, I'll be recognizing educators and staff members throughout the district who go above and beyond with our Classroom Impact Awards that were launched last year, so we'll be continuing those. These awards will celebrate the extraordinary people who help our students feel supported, challenged, and inspired every single day. So I look forward to sharing that throughout this school year. Yesterday was the first day of school for many of our students, including our kindergartners. And it was wonderful to welcome them and their families back to school. Had the privilege of being at Stead Elementary, Cannon Elementary, Vaughn Middle School, Mendive Middle School, and Reed High School yesterday, welcoming students back. It was really exciting to be part of that event alongside with the students and families. We had many trustees join us, so thank you for all that were able to join. It was an honor to have our Deputy Superintendent with the Nevada Department of Education, Dr. Dorit Palmer, as well as the University of Nevada President Brian Sandoval and Sparks City Councilman Joe Rodriguez joined us on some of the visits. So thank you to the community for wrapping their arms around our students on the very first day of school. Very grateful for that. With school back in session, I would just be remiss if I didn't end by reminding everyone to be extra cautious. Remember to slow down. Remember to pay attention at those crosswalks. Watch for our students, watch for our families, and stay alert to keep our kids safe.
Thank you so much, Superintendent McMaster. Okay, moving on to Section 5, closing items. 5.01 is public comment.
Janice Russell.
I had to bring 12 of everything, so there you have 12 of everything. And I'm going to take them back and give it 10 minutes. Okay. For the record, my name is Janice Russell. I am a Reno Arch Lion, and we are very involved in the community. We have boots on the ground helping with the fire as well, and all those kinds of things. I know I'm supposed to talk about something not on the agenda, but you guys have been talking about education. And the most important thing you can do is get our kids on track for reading. This program has been developed over, since 2011. Batchelder, you took the minutes for all the meetings we went through when we had the Vision Task Force. Okay, she's the only name I recognize. We have been trying mightily. We have been to the governor's office. We have been to all the heads of the education departments. We have been to the 12 school districts. They all met, and we had a nice little chit-chat about what to do with pre-K. The whole problem is kids are not on track for reading. You read with jump eye movements. If your eyes are not on track to jump from one point to the next, you are never, ever, ever going to read to your full potential. We are talking about at least 20% of your students can't track. 20% of the folks in this room probably cannot track and don't realize that they could do better with their reading if they only knew they had a problem. Now, with the jump eye screening, we screen and test for nothing. The program is free. We also have a remediation program that you can use to get kids on track for reading that sometimes takes a matter of a few hours to get their eyes to work together, up to a matter of however long it takes to get them to understand that this is what you need to do. The remediation consists of a metronome and hitting times and stuff in time to a metronome. I don't know if any of y'all have heard this program because it's been around for a long time. Have you heard of it? Good girl. Anyone can use this program. I defy in this great country of ours for somebody to say, here's something free that you might be able to use for reading skills, but you can't use it. Don't tell anybody no. This is free. It is doable. It is so easy. Did anybody see my T-shirt? Right? Nothing beats reading. But if you can't get there, you're going to suffer for that. So what I want to do today is challenge y'all. Go to the website. Beth, you have already been there, so everybody needs to do this and try to figure out a way to implement it in your schools. Those 200 teachers just 2 weeks ago should have gotten an opportunity to hear from me. I tried, but I didn't get on the agenda. We're available to come and train you and show you how to do it. And inside the packet that I've given you, there's more information about what Lions do. And there's information about one of the teachers that let us remediate her classroom. There's some data on the schools that we've been into and results that we have found there. There's a little way that we can do it for kids that can't know their numbers, 1, 2, 3. And computers for kids, they're free through the Cigar Lions Club.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, appreciate it. As a former Lion, thank you.
Oh, hey, we want you back. It's like never a former Lion. What are you talking about?
Okay, moving on to item 5.02, which is the next meeting announcement will be August 25th of 2026. And last item on the agenda is adjourn meeting at 17:19.